I mean, it's simple shit. Like, it's flat bar that you could just drill out and use.
Right.
So. Good shit.
All right. I think we're good now. Fucking technology, man.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I love it.
So
Yeah,
that
we can
one's
figure
on
out
a different
eventually.
video. I just turn it off. If someone asks questions, they'll be right there. You can roll it back in for us.
Do you look and point at the camera like I'm talking to you?
It's actually really distracting when you have it up there because you'll be talking and you're just like,
Oh, you're trying to see if people have questions and shit
and then
like that.
yeah, and then put the mic close to you. We're going to figure this out today.
Okay.
All right, class.
Yes. Yeah, I'm competent. I can learn.
Yes, you can.
Oh, we don't get cool headsets like him over
You're
there.
the smartest boy in the whole.
I know.
goddamn county.
Thanks, Dad.
Now that that's just to help with the audio stuff. So
Oh, I gotcha.
anyway, Adam, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having
Mike,
us.
right?
Yes.
Nice. When he said, "Hey, Mike's coming up here," I was like, "Which Mike?" There's so many Houston Mike's. I don't know.
I'm more of a Galveston, and you're Texas.
You're more
Mike.
Galveston Mike? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Galveston Mike sounds like a good nickname unless there's already one.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be real careful about that because
Oh, yeah.
there's some characters.
Mm-hmm.
How is Galveston these days? I haven't been down there in a
Very
minute.
touristy. Certain times of the year, it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
For real?
You go down there and meet whoever you want, man. You just got to pick.
Are you
the
talking
right
about
time.
like women?
Women or whoever?
Galveston is its
Non-binary
own
people.
fucking
Yeah.
entity, man.
But it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like it's always got a different crowd. So unless you know the locals and stuff
Yeah.
like that, like there's always a different flux of people down there.
There's got to be, and you being there, you could probably attest to this. There's got to be like this vibe down there of like the locals, the bar that the locals go to, and away from all the touristy shit. That's got like a.
They move.
They
have
do?
they have like 5 bars and they just move constantly all night long. Whenever it starts getting crowded, they just move.
Move to the next one.
And if you're in with the crowd, you know exactly where everybody's going.
Yeah.
You know, it's an island. It's only so big.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a good vibe down there.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
always had fun.
Oh yeah, it's man. I just miss the old days. When
How long have you lived there?
I'm actually living slightly off the island now, but last 20 years.
Okay.
So I've seen it when it Whispers, the real dingy strip club, was down there. It was pretty rad.
I've been to the Kappa Beach party down there before.
Oof.
Please tell us more.
Yeah.
I went
was
to
wild.
Walmart once during that, and I saw some things.
Yeah.
Changed me. I feel like more of a man now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I saw some stuff. I saw people get pregnant.
Man, yeah, it's that was my first time ever going down there. I grew up in the hood up here, so it was like, yeah, you know, I was white chocolate, all that shit growing up.
Well,
you know
before
what I mean?
the hurricane that cleaned the island off, like all the low income like housing and stuff got wiped out during
Yeah.
Ike or whatever it was, and like now it's just more of a tourist base place. So it's pretty safe anywhere you go. Yeah, it's a good place to go. It's real PG.
Yeah.
But you can still find trouble.
Well, we've done like the Lone Star Rally. I haven't done it in a couple of years.
Hell
but
yeah.
yeah, it's just like sitting down there on what is it, the Strand or whatever down there.
A lot of the locals leave the island for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but yeah, it's a good time. It's just kind of crazy when they're trying to get off the island when everybody's drunk and it's like, you know, Broadway and there's like 4 lanes wide and it's like, oh, it's pretty rough.
400,000
That Lone Star
people.
Rally goes on. There's like a Michelob like bat signal that goes up into the sky, and everybody that has a street glide in Texas like floods down there for that
Oh,
event.
yeah. Big time. Road glide, street glide, yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their music playing, so you can't really hear what's
Yeah,
going on.
Can't do shit.
Ken used to have a shop down there, and we used to post up right
Yeah,
on
with the what was that shop name? I remember that one.
Faded Garage?
Which one?
Ken.
There was like a
that
spot
was
down-
I thought it was Harborside.
Yeah,
Harborside.
Harborside. Yeah. I always want to go down and check all that out, but it just, you know.
Ken is a great guy, man. Like, I've known him for a long time, and when he opened that up, he wanted to have like a place where he could work on bikes and live there. And then the city was really on to him about having anything with gasoline in it inside of his shop. But man, he got so much foot traffic, but he couldn't even like sit outside of his door without the city coming in and trying to find him. They got really weird about that. And yeah, we used to camp out there for 1 year, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
One of the beer people set up a beer booth right there, so we just sat on those high-ass curbs watching everybody come in. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good spot to have right there. I had a good time there, but you know, our buddy Craig does his down south camp out, and it's usually that same weekend, and you know, trust me, I wish it was that easy just to go to Houston, but, you know, you got to support the homies. That kind of
From
shit.
Dallas, it's never easy to come down to Houston. I mean, you're pinned on 45 for
Oh, it's such a grueling fucking drive.
4
man.
hours. Like,
It's like at least when you go down 35, like if you're going to San Antonio or something, it's
Yeah.
like you're hitting cities, and it's like 45 is just cops and like gas station stops. That's it. You know what I mean? You're not hitting one town. It's like, oh, dude, let's go get off the road a little bit and go check out the vibe. Like we got Waco, Temple, you know, Austin, and then San Marcos and all that stuff when you go down 35. So it's just a different vibe.
For me, it's I-10. I can't stand I-10 between Houston and San Antonio. I hate it.
Yeah.
So bad. It's just like, everybody's doing 100 miles an hour, and it's like, oh, my God, get off my ass.
When we used to come down to Lone Star Ride, we would always go to College Station first and stay there and party like the night before because Lone Star used to always happen like right around Halloween. And then, of course, College Station, just nothing but fucking, you know, college bars and shit like that. So it was always a good time down there.
Like the area of Houston where Adam lives in, man, it's really come up where, like, I was coming from a bar, going over to his house to drop something off, and, man, it's like Mardi Gras down there by where he lives on
Montrose.
Gray.
Yeah, I live off West
Gray.
Gray.
Holy,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I was like, whoo.
Were y'all laughing at us last weekend while we were getting flooded?
I didn't even know, to be honest, I didn't know you guys were getting flooded. Like,
He didn't. I told him.
like, I don't really watch TV a lot.
Yeah.
So I heard that Dallas was getting fucking downpoured on. Like Houston, like we got a little bit of what you guys got going down. Like I got filled in a little later that you guys were pretty much like kind of like how bad actually was the flood because I don't know much about it.
I live on the south side of town, so we kind of miss everything. But, I mean, the news on Instagram really fucking hyped it up. Like, it was like, what were they calling it on Dallas, Texas TV?
The Delanta or
Delanta or something like
Prolific Ocean.
Prolific Ocean.
Because we're like post Harvey and we're like, you guys getting flooded. All right, that's cool. All right, cool.
Our flooding was cute. That's what it was compared to y'all shit.
I've heard the term historic thrown
Yeah.
around with what happened Monday, which is the amount of rainfall we got in
Like one day.
the little amount of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it did. Parts of the city, it turned them upside down as far as tearing shit up and just.
Well, what was your guys' rendition of it? Because a lot of times if I watch the news, it's how much do you want me to pay attention to it via how much is actually truthful. You know, saying the word historic can just, it's going to get my attention, but is it, like, what was it for you guys?
You were in, I mean, you work in Deep Ellum. I was on this,
It was looking bad enough that just to play it safe, I took an Uber. I'm 4 exits up, so it wasn't it's not a far trip, but and I need new tires, so just to play it safe, I took an Uber, and that was Sunday night, I believe.
yeah, that's when I came down there to see you for a little bit before the rain came.
And I was off at 10. I didn't close, so luckily I got out of there before it all happened. And I woke up to phone messages. Jones and Kyle made a joke about, I hope the garage he's parked in is flooded and his bike's washed away, which I'd already had after seeing something else. When I saw their message, I just thought, these fucking cocksuckers just willed this. And I flew out of bed like somebody was breaking into the house and went down to the basement. And I was fine. The basement was flooded a little bit, I would say, but nothing more than 4 or
Oh,
5.
so you guys did fucking flood. Like,
Yeah, no, it was legit.
oh,
flood.
shit. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a different fucking story. Like, if you're actually getting water inside of your fucking homes, like, that's,
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people that have that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Yeah, you guys got fucking hit.
I don't know if they brought boats out, though.
I feel like I saw some canoes. Yeah, it's something like you guys get for hurricanes.
How the fuck out of the loop am I? Because if they're bringing boats and you guys are flooding, like,
No,
I
I'm
was
saying-
like, God fucking damn.
I feel like when they're out there in the city rolling around on fucking boats, and that's like legit flood shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you see all the stuff when Katrina happened back in the day, or even when was it Harvey that kicked y'all's ass a couple years
Yeah,
back?
Harvey changed
Yeah,
this
you
fucking
see everybody
city.
going down there with boats just to go try to rescue people, like, and you see like roofs and like from the ground up to the fucking roof is like the only thing showing out of the water. Mm-hmm. We didn't get that.
Yeah, ours was more like bad flash flooding.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah.
big substantiated flooding like you guys have had it, and like you see in New Orleans and some of the Gulf Coast and stuff like that.
Fucking A, man.
Well, it just prompts you to get the hell out. So go to somewhere where it doesn't rain, you know?
Sahara Desert.
Or a desert in general, you know?
When it rains out there, it's like a massive flash flood, though.
Well, yeah, but it has somewhere to go. Like the biggest issues with Houston, there's nowhere for the fucking water to go.
Oh, okay.
So they've overbuilt, they've overdone everything. Like I can go forever on fucking Harvey because it was all self-built by people that are like Houston's a very individual city to where it's a lot of bad decisions by politicians that we just have to kind of deal with.
It's insanely individual. As far as I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but the zone. I mean, people in Texas talk about it. The zoning in Houston. How I've never been to another city in America where you can have a car dealership next to a Chuck E. Cheese, next to a strip club, next to a gun store. I mean, it's next to a jacuzzi store. Like Houston's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see every single city kind of going towards this mode of. Like we're starting, like especially in Houston, we're starting to see that it's very difficult to live there. I still love Houston; it's still a good city, but we're kind of finding the repercussions of everything that we've done inside of that city. So that's the biggest thing that I've attached myself to is getting the hell out of the city. To where like that's kind of what spawned also the Terlingua run, which was basically getting us the hell out of all these cities with all these fucking problems and all these things that happen to go on that we have our voice is nothing compared to these fucking politicians and all these constructions and all these kickbacks and all these other bullshit that you have to deal politically and all that crap. Once you get out of town, I mean, it's an 8-hour ride to the middle of nowhere, and I guarantee you're not going to get any of those fucking vibes out there.
Yeah.
There's like a really cool part on Highway 90 when you're coming, and I didn't even realize the largest span bridge is out there going across the Pecos, and it's just level, and when you're coming across it, it's just so, that's when you realize you're like,
Pecos
I'm
River
out
Bridge.
here. Yeah, I'm out here. You look across, and it's like maybe when you're doing the speed limit, maybe a minute or two across it, but the whole gorge, it's like Arizona.
What was like the infancy of starting the Terlingua run? Like, didn't y'all do like something before where y'all went out there and then like decided to do like an actual legit run like next year or a couple months later or something like that?
This was years later.
Yeah.
So I've known about Terlingua for a while. Terlingua's always been a special place. Yeah. And what cemented it was that run where there was 14 of us that went out to Terlingua, all from different cities. Yeah. And we were all close friends. We all rode out there together. And that experience was still one of my top 5 experiences on a motorcycle.
Yeah. What year was that though?
Shit. 2017,
18?
Probably 2017 or 2018. It was
like 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years before we really started.
Because
like,
Texas Hills was 2019, and I think it was a year before that, so probably 2018.
Yeah, that makes sense to be 18 because 17 was my FXR year when I was running around.
Mm-hmm. So probably 2018.
I didn't really meet you until 18 because you had came to buy that motor from me that time.
Yeah, I got that fucking transmission.
That was
that full fucking motor.
Yeah, that was 18. So back when we were doing the podcast downstairs.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah, on the fucking table, that wooden table you had down there. Yeah, it's came a long way, and it looks fucking good.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So, like, what is it about that area that I mean, just for people listening, I haven't been yet. Never been to Big Bend. That's why I hit you. I was like, dude, I'm doing everything I can to be there this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the draw?
So there's this one spot. Like last year, we kind of like stopped in Alpine, which is like 100 miles away, and we were like, hey, we'll just shut it down for the night. But the next morning when we got up, I mean, it was like heaven. It was like everything people dream about. Like once you leave Alpine and you start going south, it looks like a combination between Arizona and Montana, and it's like the roads. There's hardly any traffic. And it's like when you start getting into the mesas and stuff, we start going up. It's like California windy roads, and then you come down into the valley, and it's like, you know, you see the mountains way off in the distance, and it's like you probably got 20 miles of just straight road where you can just pin it and grip it if you want, and then you get to these other set of mountains, and you come up into Terlingua. But I think, man, like just being there, I was like, man, like this is the visual. You ain't got to worry about cars. There's nobody out there. It's 2-lane road, but that early morning crisp dew where it's like nice and cool and the bike's running good, it's just all visual, and it's like, man, this is what motorcycling is all about. Like you ain't gotta worry about cars trying to run you over, pass you, do none of that. But it's like kind of the technical terms, like just I don't know. It's so different. Like I've been through like Fort Stockton and all that stuff so many times, but before I went down there, I didn't know that area was like that. I figured it'd be more desert, more dusty, but no, it wasn't.
All those towns out there, like Alpine, Fort Stockton, don't they all have kind of like shit that's like worth checking out, like on your way in?
Yes. So like for Terlingua is very much of a feeling. Like, and what he's talking about, the road from Alpine to Terlingua kind of introduces you to the base of the Rocky Mountains, which is Big Bend. So you start, but the roads there's no one on these roads, and you're probably, don't catch me wrong, it's a good 45 minutes to an hour down this road. Like when we rode down there, it was me, Nathan, and Dunny that were riding down there, and we're hitting speeds at 140 or 130, 140 miles an hour going down this thing, and it's 75 degrees. We have carbureted motorcycles, like, and our bikes are just eating the shit out of these roads. And then you just start hitting these turns, and you're hitting these banks, and then you're hitting these things, and then you just start feeling that feeling to where you're just like you're escaping everything. And then you're looking around you, and you're like, you're not in fucking Texas anymore. Like it's like I've been all over this fucking state, and then that fucking area is just I can't replicate that feeling I get when I ride out there. And it starts from Alpine. And it just gets better and better all the way down to Terlingua. And then there's this, like, when you go into Terlingua, there's this big hill. And as you go over this hill, it just shows the entire ghost town. It shows, you see the mountain range that's the border to Mexico. Nice. And then that's when you get that feeling that you're somewhere special. To where, and then it's kind of reinvigorated by the locals. It's by the people that you meet there, because everyone there is just there to go to Terlingua, and like it's a purpose. It's not like I go to San Antonio to go to the fucking Riverwalk, and then everyone's like, we're at the fucking Riverwalk. Like, no, everyone there is at Terlingua, and you have a similar bond being there, and then they'll just spark a conversation at the bar.
How big is the town itself?
It's not big.
No, like you can hold your breath through the whole thing.
Do they have like any established businesses there, like Walmart?
Oh yeah. No. No.
You gotta judge a town by like how big it is. Like they start off with like a Dollar General, and then if they move up to a Walmart,
Yeah.
Oh shit, they got a super center?
Yeah.
I think everybody was talking about getting tires changed and oil changed. They have to go to Alpine, so they have to make that 100-mile trip. But I think that's what the town prides itself on, is that the Chamber of Commerce doesn't let any of these big chains go in there.
Yeah.
So it's all mom and pop stores. So you're getting like authentic food. Like there's a little breakfast place right now.
Is it Tex-Mex or that bullshit Mexican
It's
food?
all different stuff.
Okay. Everyone's like, oh, this isn't real Mexican. I'm like, dude, that shit's garbage, dude. Put some queso on that shit, dude.
But they actually have
I feel you on that, man.
They have this place next to the Starlight Lounge, which is right past the cemetery, and they make like French breakfast down there, like on crepes and
it's
eggs
fucking
Benedict,
good.
and it's like all homemade stuff, and you can sit there and watch them make it, and it's super good.
And there's fucking road runners running across
that's a treat.
and what he's talking about with the Starlight Theater, like you basically, like it's an old Mexican, like what would you call it? Like
restaurant.
Restaurant / they got a stage and everything there, but when you walk into it, it just makes you think of like the early 1900s. Like it's historical. The best part of that
Cowboy and Indian shit type stuff?
Yeah, sort of. This was more of a mining town. That's
like Virginia City though, then, right? Because I think Virginia City was a mining town. We were on our trip. We were kind of coming into Virginia City, and we were talking about it as we got up there on the top, and we're like, dude, could you imagine like being out on the road for the last 2 weeks on a horse, like, robbing people or doing whatever you got to do to get some shit, and you're like, there's whiskey and pussy on top of that hill. You know what I mean? And then like you're like, on your horse going up the fucking mountain, and you just get robbed, and you're like, fuck, man, I got to go back out there. So that's what we think. I was thinking about that. Like, is it kind of like that vibe where a long time ago it was like a hub for like commerce for?
Oh yeah,
just.
Like it goes back to 1903. Yeah. So 1903, they founded Mercury, which they call Quicksilver. And it's also 1903. So I don't know how deep these mines go. There is a place to where you can go there where we put a grate on top of the... most of the mines are closed around Terlingua. There's one that has an actual grate over it. You can't see how deep it goes. But you can also imagine it's 1903. And then you have these individuals going down inside of this, like... mining mercury, burning mercury, like dealing with all these hazardous chemicals, like this hazardous work environment, like all this stuff's going down, and it's completely normal. Like this went on, I think, until World War II. Damn. Like mercury went down a little bit before World War II. They got bought out, and then the company basically tried keeping it going. And then once World War II hit, they fucking ceased operations, and then boom, Terlingua dispersed, and then that's how it became the ghost town that it is today. Like it hasn't really changed much since then, but what it got. This is also I'm not speaking for Terlingua locals, because Like they have the utmost story to where you have to show up and they're happy to tell it to you.
Yeah.
But I feel that people went there and found the value of this area. And then they wanted to maintain that value. They see like kind of what it gives back to you, and they wanted to maintain it. And the best story of that I think is kind of an example of that is the fact that the mayor of Terlingua is a fucking goat. The mayor of Terlingua is a goat named Clay Henry. And the story of Clay Henry, so now we have, I believe, Clay Henry the Third.
Oh, shit.
So there's been 3 goats that have been the mayor of Terlingua. And so the kind of the backstory that happened with the goat was a Houston, I think he was an attorney, he was an investor. And I'm guessing he kind of saw what Terlingua had to offer, saw that this town is something special, so he wanted to go there and basically put himself in leadership to where he can start making kind of a touristy town for this thing where the locals figured that out. And they were like, okay, fuck this shit. Like, this isn't going to go down. You're not going to come to our town and change it. So basically, I'm guessing someone had a goat. Someone had a goat named Clay Henry, and they put it on the ballot for the mayor of this county, and everyone voted for it. So then they instated Clay Henry, which is a goat, and it's the mayor of kind of this whole entire area, to where it's in Lajitas, to where like probably a 10-minute ride up north, which we'll do on the Saturday. One of the Saturday rides is basically from Terlingua to Presidio, and we'll stop in Lajitas. There's a little fucking general store. Right next to the general store is a cage with Clay Henry inside of it, and this motherfucking goat drinks beer, and it prefers Shiner. So you can go inside of this fucking general store, buy a 6-pack of Shiner, walk next door, and just fucking, this goat will fucking down a whole entire 6-pack. And then you just, that's kind of what the Clay Henry is known for. And then you kind of go up the road up to Presidio. But the original Clay Henry is stuffed inside of the Starlight Theater, chugging a fucking beer and with the stuffed squirrel underneath it. You know, like, that's the type of vibe this town
Sounds like
brings.
they need the internet down there.
It's
something to do.
all I've ever heard about is a lot of the artists from Austin in the 70s saw where Austin was going, so they moved out there. So like on the ride out there, you'll actually start seeing a lot of metal sculptures, and there's actually like a bunch of like burnt out trailers and stuff that people just left, and it looks like the beginning of Tremors. Do you remember that movie? And
Dude, it is.
That's how you know you're getting close. But I'm just like, oh man, I love this place. I'm home. Like, but it's quiet, man. I like it. You can definitely feel the tension, like everyday world tension. Like, it's not around you. Like, everybody's happy. You know, everybody's like in a good spot out there, even though it's so far out.
Yeah.
Like, man, I love this place, but I couldn't live here. It's like I still need a little bit of chaos, like somebody yelling at me.
How many miles is it from Houston? Like
600, 650?
Yeah,
I think we're 500 for us here. 'Cause I've been wanting to go for years, and you know, then of course, like I know you've been going on with this, but it like I don't remember what happened last year. I think I was in the Smoky Mountains last year at the beginning of October, and then I was home for like 2.5 weeks, and then we were going to Florida for the down south, and it just kind of like I couldn't go do a 500-mile trip in between those two. You know what I'm saying? So, but no, I'm really excited to go this year. I feel like it's other than the big trip that we were on in June, like I haven't my itch to ride a motorcycle somewhere it needs to be scratched.
This will scratch it.
Yeah.
Like, this will, like, it's more, the town is so organic that just showing up. And that's why I think the Terlingua Run is very special. It's a very different type of event. Like, there's no vendors. There's no, like, we're setting up conveniences, food, water, stuff. You're also in the middle of the fucking Chihuahuan Desert. So please bring a gas can. Like, there's one gas station, and it definitely runs out of gas. Like, this is basically a couple of 18-wheelers that supply this town. Like, when they run out of pizza, they're out of pizza for, like, a week, until the next 18-wheeler comes in. So, but it's a place to where, like, the roads are, bar none, best roads in Texas.
Yeah.
Unarguable. You can say all you want. Like, Big Bend, Presidio, and plus a ton of other roads you can take anywhere from the low end of intermediate, like, maybe high end. Like, I don't think there's really any much beginner roads if you want to go high speed, but every single one will test you.
Yeah.
And every single one you will come back a better rider. Every time I come out there, I come back home and I'll run Huntsville. In Houston, Huntsville's kind of like the quick, nice, good turns, good, to where you can really put your skill to the test. Every single time I come back, Huntsville's probably 5 mile an hour faster.
Yeah.
To where that's what those roads teach you, but you have to be immediately reactive. You have to be respectful, because this area, I mean, shit, our Presidio ride last year, we ran up to a guy that got hit by a javelina. So you have wildlife, you have coyotes, you have javelinas, you have a lot of stuff. It's a very active nature environment. So you got to be alert. Like, you know, you can't run these roads going 90, 100 miles an hour unless you know them. Yeah. If you don't know them, yeah, you can test your limits, but know that the fact that you have to be immediately reactive.
The deer population is usually more at night, but how do the pigs kind of fuck around all day long, or are they kind of more nocturnal as well?
I do not know. I know that we rolled up. When it comes to the wildlife, yeah, at night you're going to see a lot more coyotes and stuff like that. I think the best thing is to just know at any time, like there's going to be some sort of wildlife crossing that road. Like we're in their territory. Like
snakes, whatever, you know.
Like, and this javelina took out this guy. Like, we had about a pack of 25 riders. We roll up being flagged down by another group of riders, and this guy was, you know, on the ground in the middle of the road. And I do commend the people that we were riding with, because everyone immediately kickstand their bikes, try to do anything that they could do to help. Yeah. So this guy was pretty fucked up. Like, he looked like he had a pretty good concussion. Like, we treated it pretty quickly to where it's like, okay, check his back and shit, and get him off the road, because he's in the middle of a road around turns and stuff. Like, it's not safe. So, but I mean, there's a dead pig, probably 6 or 7 feet on the side of the road. So we kind of connected the dots there. But I mean, we pulled him off the road. I think there was an ICU nurse there. So we're like, okay, he's good. And then got the rest of the pack back on their bikes, and you're headed back up to Presidio.
How long is the run to Presidio from there?
About an hour. There's a gas station up to Presidio, but I'm telling you, there's a stop that we have some pictures of it. We'll probably post a little bit more picture. We stop about 30 or 40 miles up, and we're talking, what the ride to Presidio basically does is it follows the Rio Grande. Yeah. So you're following the border of Mexico up to Presidio. I think it's around 65 to 68 miles. So we're taking it at about 60 miles an hour. Yeah. So it's a pretty, also if you want to ride hard.
Through the Big Bend Park though?
No, Big Bend is south. Okay. Presidio's north. So there'll be 2 rides to where Big Bend will be, you can go through Big Bend, and then the Presidio ride's going to be in the morning.
Okay.
To where but it is still the Presidio ride is one of the most beautiful rides you can do in the area. Big Bend has its awesome, if you really want aggressive riding and really to really test yourself, Big Bend's there. Presidio's also there because you have hills that go up right into negative camber turns, or it's a wild ride going to Presidio, but it's also beautiful to where most of the time you'll be pulling over, taking pictures. It's the Rio Grande plus the mountains and beautiful ravines and everything like that. It's more of a cruise, coast, and go.
That's cool. Yeah, my goal, I've been wanting to do a trip, try to, not unify is not the word, but I want to put together and I want to use this event to do it, get a couple of motorcycle photographers, guys that are into it, and put a small 3, 4, 5 group thing where we all meet up somewhere and they do this whole thing together, just so that we're all taking pictures, we're kind of bouncing back and forth with photography stuff, because I mean out there you got the big sky at night, you know what I mean, that's one of the darkest places. I don't know about in Terlingua itself, but just out there in general, it's some of the darkest skies in America.
That's I think don't quote me on this, but I think it's 2%. Yeah. Of light pollution.
Man, it was awesome. I mean, we were on stuff, but the galaxies really sang to me that night. I was just like, man, this is a beautiful sky. I love it. Yeah.
So there's nothing compared in Texas to a Terlingua sky. Yeah. That's one of those at night. You have full almost the galaxy style to where you see the powder and everything in the sky and and it is. I still have to look up to see what moon is going on. I think when we were there was a full moon, so it wasn't. Time. Yeah, and but when there's a full moon, when we went back in 2018, there was a full moon. You don't need lights. You don't need anything. If you turn on a light, you can't see shit. You turn it off. We climbed a fucking mountain to a cave with absolutely no lights or anything, and this cave had people signing it from 1964. Nice. It was something that was just everything you go into is just it's almost a once-in-a-lifetime experience to where you're almost glad that, you spent the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to fuck around at night. Snakes,
night is fine out there. It's...
Scorpions.
Tarantulas.
Tarantulas.
Yeah, there's going to be tarantulas crossing the road as you, especially in Big Bend, you'll see spiders that are crossing the road while you're going down the road. Yeah.
Quick question.
So, like,
Can you shoot the tarantulas?
I can't answer that. Maybe. I mean, shit, there's one sheriff for God knows how many square miles. So, like.
Wink, wink. Bring your gun.
You can do anything you want.
So I would say treat the wildlife nicely. You know, they're allowing us to be there. So, but if
No, I just thought it'd be fun to use that event because just like I want to kind of hit some of the little towns in between like Dallas or Waco and like San Angelo, and then instead of like going straight 20 out there, I want to get off in see some of these older towns, like take some pictures of some of this decay and
almost like a motorcycle diary type of thing.
And just I thought it'd be fun to do it with some other guys that are into photography and also ride and kind of share tips and shit. You know what I mean? Just like that's the one thing that like I'm kind of craving is like I have a great friend circle now that I'm not trying to replace that or anything. Even though they were pissing me off on Sunday. We want to hang out. But just to have another circle of like guys that are into the photography that I can have, hopefully build the kind of friendships that I have now with my friends, but also with some guys that fuck with some of the other things that I do, like the photography and all that shit.
Oh yeah, and you're also bouncing creative minds off creative minds. Like who knows what'll happen to that? So it's
the hardest part about like in even though my guys, all the homies are good as fuck, I just kind of like, oh man, I want to stop there and take a picture, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna do this one, and then as soon as you get back in the road, it's like fucking 2 more miles down the road. Like, God, I want to take a picture right there too. So it's like you got these dudes. I don't want them to feel like I'm wasting their time because they don't they're gonna get pictures of them probably, but they're not necessarily. They're like, yo, let's get there. And I want to make this about like taking pictures of the entire thing, use it as practice, all that type of shit. So.
And that's also it's an exposure.
Yeah.
So like you want to show people, like that's kind of how we kind of developed this event, is to show people this is what you can achieve. Like this is what you can see with your own eyes. And sometimes you just have to, like that with the photography and everything like that, you literally have to make it look so beautiful to where they can't say no. And then once they get out there, then because you have to be present in order to feel those emotions. I can't look at a picture and be like, I felt what that guy felt at that moment in time. I can look at a picture and be like, I think I got to go there and see what this is about.
See it for yourself. Nah, I get it, man. It's there's just in general, man. Like we stayed in Van Horn on the way back from California, and that's like one of those spots where you're on 10. Like you head south from there, it takes you through, what is it, Valentine into Marfa and all that shit. So many times I'm on my way home, I stay in Van Horn because like it's a perfect stop from California to Van Horn is like a good run. Like it's a long run. It's like 1,000 miles even, and then it leaves me exactly 500 miles to get home from there. So I always want to go south.
Splits at.
Yeah, like just
20,
like another
20 and 10.
Right there is like Van Horn's tucked on the east side of the mountains there.
Yeah.
And as soon as you cross over that mountain, that's right where the time change is. As you're coming up that mountain and then you crest down, that's where it says you're now in Central Time Zone.
And is this that shit on your phone? This is like welcome to this whatever.
Yeah, it's like I just for me it's like when you're coming home, like I always want to like get all the time zones out of the way. That way the next day if I wake up at 9, it's not really 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If
you're coming back east from west, but if you're going like New York back home, like cool, I'm gonna get an hour out of this. You know what I'm saying? So that's always a good feeling.
So speaking about times, I will have to say that if you're coming to the run at Terlingua this year, we will have it set up. So we're going to be at the Passing Wind, which is at the direct entrance of. It's an art installation at the entrance of the ghost town, and we'll basically when you roll in, it'll be very visible. But one of the first things we have to do is sync everybody's time because we're so close to Mexico that we're going to be bouncing off Mexico's cell phone towers. So last year we figured that out to where some people were an hour ahead, some people were an hour before. So we had a lot of different things. So if you are coming this year, please clarify with either me or Mike what the appropriate time is, because we will have a set schedule set up to where like, hey, we're going to meet up here for certain rides, and we'll have things kind of, if you want to participate, everything is voluntary. Like we just want you to show up and kind of have your own experience, but we will help you out with that experience. But time is a big, big thing because I don't know, half the cell phones are pinging off of Mexico, half the cell phones are pinging off of American cell phone towers.
They're going back between Mountain and Central. So people were like, what time everybody, what's the kickstands up? It was like, 10 o'clock. I'm like, everybody's like, it's only 9 right now.
Yeah.
Everybody going like, wow, going by. It's like, oh man, what's going on here?
Yeah, like my poor buddy Rick. Like he was super stoked to be out there. He rode out there, and that was his biggest. Like he couldn't get the times right to where like he missed the Presidio ride. He did get the back end of the Big Bend ride that we did at the evening.
Yeah.
But that was the biggest problem because we were just like shit. Like okay, which is the right time? And like no one. Like now we're just gonna pick a time and then just adjust your phone to that specific time when you roll up, and then just make sure you know. So if you are coming this year, make sure you know what the appropriate time the schedule is on, and make sure you're on the right tower, and because you can adjust your phone to it or whatever you got to do. But that'll just help you, you know, if you want to participate more, that'll help you show up in the right time.
Yeah, the Pass and Win is pretty cool. Like it's like someone built like a pirate ship and like a submarine, and it's like I don't know, what would you call it? Like a playground?
It's an art installation.
Yeah.
Got some Slab City vibes to this.
Yeah.
It's so Terlingua, like
But it's got a fence.
Yeah, it's a lot of artists like Retro Rents. They still like there's basically they do Airstreams. So that's kind of in the middle of the town. If you got no lady or anything that doesn't want to camp, like Retro Rents is available.
Yeah.
But like she collects feathers on the ground and she paints feathers. So a lot of the Terlingua locals are artists, and you know that the Passing Wind was basically made by Terlingua locals. Like the pirate ship's rad. Like there's a submarine top. There's a couple of other things. Like my good buddy Dunny that showed up last year. He stayed in the pirate ship on top of it. So like this guy literally woke up.
I was thinking, I didn't remember who it was, but I saw somebody's video of waking up on the camping ship or the fucking pirate ship.
Yeah,
That was sick. I was like, fuck, I kind of want to do. How big is your deck, big boy? You got room for another guy?
yeah. Like, and that's if you want to stay on the pirate ship, like you can literally, like they're very open to it. But all they ask is just be respectful. Like if you're gonna stay up there, make sure you return it to how it was. Like, if you can have these experiences, but just be responsible about it. Like, be a good human. Like, because that's
how is the town like got enough where you can like get beer and shit like that? Or
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Friday night, we're setting up a DB Rustic Barbecue. It's a new barbecue spot. He just did a bunch of renovations to his spot. He makes fucking awesome barbecue. That's gonna be the kind of meet and greet Friday night, and we're gonna have Mexican beers. I mean, we're a couple miles from the border of Mexico, so of course there's gonna be a shit ton of Mexican beers, but we also gonna have PBR, Lone Star, whatever you guys need, and that's gonna be kind of the party spot. So like they're gonna have a band that night. It's literally right across the street from the Passing Wind, so you can come up, get your camping set up and everything. It's gonna be $5 a night. So we want to make sure we want to keep as much as like we don't want to make you spend as little as money as possible because that's not what it is.
Yeah.
So it's $5 a night for camping, set up in the Passing Wind, and then literally walk across the street to DB Rustic Barbecue. We'll have bike parking and everything set up. And then that's kind of where they'll have bands, beers, whatever you want to do, and that's kind of what we're kick it for that first night.
That sounds dope.
Yeah, we're trying to like get a fire pit and like music and like just like a meet and greet because there's a lot of people that didn't know each other.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of people that have social anxieties and they're like, I don't know if I know these guys, and we just want everybody to feel welcome and just hang out and have like a chill vibe.
Yeah.
And like that way, everybody Saturday comes, everybody kind of knows each other, or they don't.
They've already
whatever.
made the introductions.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
it isn't so cliquish, you know.
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't make the one last year, but that seemed to be one of the, in my opinion, one of the more rad things about it was seeing the dudes that didn't know each other. We had some mutual friends that I don't know if they even knew each other before that happened, but they linked up there, and now like they've stayed. And it seems like not just that one example, but it seems like there's been pockets of dudes that
Oh yeah.
sucked it up, went out for the first time, and met people that they like. Essentially, the epitome of what we talk about when we say, "Hey, pull your panties up and go to one of these events, and you're going to meet the friend you didn't know you had." Sounds like y'all's shit actually proved it, like lived it.
So that's why it's different, because the only thing you have to do is just show up. Like, you just have to be present. Like, you're riding out to the Chihuahuan Desert in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's not an easy ride to do. You know, last year we did as much as we could to make sure that they were as informed as possible with as much information to ride out there. Like, you're going to need gas cans. Like, you're going to need to map out your gas stops. Like, if you're from Houston and San Antonio, you're taking 90 most of the way. So after Del Rio, like, you're going to have to map out your gas stops because then sometimes gas stations aren't going to have gas. So you have to use ingenuity, you have to use your wits, you have to get out there. But it's such
You have to blow a trucker every now and then.
Okay, whatever you got to do to get there.
Who you been talking to?
So, but with that, it builds this natural atmosphere to where if you're just there, like that's all you have to do, and it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter who you are or anything like that. That's all you have to do. And then I like Dunny was one of the guys that showed up, and he hit us up last year because we're as it comes closer, we'll set up like kind of point of contacts in different areas of Texas or where most people are riding out from to be like, hey, if you're riding solo, these individuals are, you can meet up with these guys and they can ride. So Dunny was one of those guys. So he hit us up from Louisiana, and he ended up being a fireman for like the outskirts of Louisiana. And so he ended
the
up
whole state.
I don't know how Louisiana operates for that shit, but we'll just say
The whole
a
fucking
very
place is the outskirt.
And so didn't know him for nothing, and he wanted to come to Terlingua, so I'm like, okay, right, cool. Like we're leaving. I believe we left on a Thursday, and and so I'm just like, come over to my house in Houston, Wednesday night, and we're leaving Thursday morning to go. And he met us he came out. We partied at my house a little bit Wednesday night. And then me, Nathan, who did all of our photography, Nathan Schultz photography. Yeah. It was me, Nathan, and Dunny rode out. And we were hooked at 90 miles an hour this whole entire time. Like I had a pretty fresh motor on the FXR. Like she ran perfectly. Yeah. We hit through Del Rio, and like that was kind of where our friendship built up to where like we kept up the whole entire thing.
Wasn't there an issue with someone's bike last year? Someone was looking for something? Or was that the first year?
Yes, last year was the first year. So, but I don't think we had any
before that.
The pre one.
God, yes, because we had a shovelhead FXR that showed up.
Yeah, it's fucking what's his name's right?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah, you're gonna kill me on this one. He's gonna be like, "What the fuck, man?"
I fucking hung out with this dude all in Sturgis.
Yes. So it was shovelhead FXR that Homer painted.
The Homer painted. Yeah.
Yes, and he out of San Antonio, he blew his whole entire electrical in San Antonio. And so him and Zach basically were kind of scrounging. Like it even fried his fucking cell phone that he had connected to his bike. So
Samsung.
I don't know what the hell it was, but it got burnt. And so they kind of figured it out that night. And I tell you what, that fucking shovelhead showed up because Dustin was leading it with an SNS 111 FXR. Yeah. And like that little shovelhead was in the back, but I mean, I can hear it. Like that whole entire time. Like it was the little engine that could that whole entire way.
Yeah.
And it made it all the way to Terlingua. And we were going through Big Bend, and that's when, he started having that same electrical problem happen. And so that's when this year, please, if you're coming out here, do as much as you can, especially with your brakes. You're going up to about 3,000 elevation, maybe a little bit more. So check your brake fluid. Your brakes have the potential to boil, which means as you go up in fucking altitude, you're going to lose braking power. So make sure all that stuff is good because these are very hard roads. So you can have a good time. So just make sure, because I've lost my rear brake both times, and like it's not a fun experience.
It's an FXR.
Yeah. So in this moment was right before a good buddy of ours that was leading us through through Big Bend. So this was Friday, and basically he rides a Fat Bob, and with like he rolls up, and we're talking about like a 5-inch gap in his rear tire. So I can just see that this guy has a fucking canyon carver.
Ground clearance.
Yeah, and so fast forward, like we've been burning Big Bend just following brake lights, and he stops and he's like, hey, this next turn is difficult, so just make sure when you brake hard. And right about, so you're basically on the side of the mountain. I think you're going up past 3,000 elevation, and it goes down and then it turns, but
like kind of a corkscrew almost.
But the road is opposite, so it's going to swing
bank.
you out to the outside, and that's when I started slamming. Like Dunny was behind me, and I started slamming on my brake to tell him like I have no brakes. And like as I'm trying to engine brake and front brake going down it, and like I'm not reducing speed enough to where, because the moment I touch my front brake, it's gonna throw me out to the outside lane. Yeah. So like you're gonna have those to where my asshole is probably I can fucking bury a diamond in there. And like because I literally went down and then just touched my front brake to just give me enough to make the turn.
Yeah. And
it swung me all the way outside. I was probably maybe 2 feet from the guardrail as you're going, and it's a fucking drop. Like you're done. And he was like, God damn it. It was a scary experience. Like,
It's okay, buddy.
Use your words.
Jesus.
That big bad turn ain't coming.
I know. It was a traumatic experience for me.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. I thought I was done.
You want some biddy?
Yeah. And so, but, you correct, you go. And then, I managed to, we still kept it up. But those are the stories that are specific to this fucking area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds cool. I mean, all those mountain roads, like I said, the whole area is just unexplored shit for me. And I always tell people, like, the areas that I'm kind of at a point now that I want to ride in the country are all the things that weren't on the way to anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, Big Bend for us isn't on the way to anything. We were in Houston. We were going to L.A. We could swing through. It's a detour, but it's not completely out of the way. You know what I'm saying? So, now it's like, another place that we're trying, like Jerome and Prescott, Arizona. Like, that's like in between, 40 and 10. Like, we're never going there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those are other areas like in Arizona that we want to check out, but are just
they can get you off of 10.
Yeah, it's almost like that has to be a destination to go to, and that's the same way Big Bend is. I've been saying it in our group chat for years, like, dude, let's just do a weekend rip to fucking Big Bend. But every time it's like it comes around, it's like, fuck it, I'm chilling. You know what I mean?
You'd be surprised when we were out there last year. I didn't realize there's a lot of people that ride motorcycles out there, and there was so much motorcycle traffic that wasn't related to us, and they were just doing the Big Bend thing. And man, it was, big to the hilt baggers, CVOs, all that stuff. And they were just cruising, big gangs of them. Tassels, all that stuff. And I was down there getting gas and getting a burrito in the morning, and I saw these guys, man, they just had the whole gas pumps filled up, and I was like, they're like just riding to Big Bend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize it. You could sit right there and watch motorcycle just going by.
Yeah, one of my closest buddies, Brad, he did all the AC and shit here. He did a trip earlier this year to Big Bend. You know what I mean? And they did his father passed away, and that's where they went to, I think, spread the ashes and everything.
Oh, nice.
It's really badass because he had always done these rides there with his dad and his uncle and shit like that. So it was kind of like a big family thing that all went out there and rode, and it's pretty badass. But he's always talking about how awesome it is down there, running through all that stuff. So, and it's on like the motorcycle must rides.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you ever Google like must rides in America, so it's like I said, it's just. For us in Dallas, it's kind of off the beaten path. It has to be a specific trip to go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was totally worth it though. I mean, like last year was the first year. Well, we went out there before the run, but man, the place totally won me over. It charmed me. Just like when I went out there, it just felt like the weight of the world was off me. That's all the politics you see on the news every day and stuff like that, and people just didn't have that on them whenever you were speaking to them. That's like it's a whole different planet.
They talk about that energy because that's how Monument Valley is. Like when you're there, there's just there's some kind of frequency that you tap into that feels different. Certain things are, like when y'all were down there at the San Juan Inn going down to you could see the stars. You're out in the middle of nowhere. It's like it's kind of humbling because you're feeling significant to the mountains and the stars and the land. I don't know what it is, but I love those type of places where you have those kind of energies that are connected to it.
Yeah, it's almost spiritual. Yeah. Like it's to where no one really cares what you've done. No one cares what you're gonna do. They care what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
and that's that type of environment. And there's Terlingua time, man. Like shit. Last year, we had a guy that was gonna play music at the most of what we had was at the High Sierra. And we were gonna have a band at the High Sierra. We had the top, like they redid the top of the High Sierra for us to have people up there. We were going to have a dude that's going to play music, and that guy came out there, and he didn't have a PA or anything. He's just like, man, like I'm sorry, I have to go back to my house, but my house is an hour away. Like, and it's going to be too dark to even come back. Like, in Terlingua time, everything just takes a very unique amount of time. And then if you ask, like, why is this going down? It's just like, it's Terlingua time, man. Just got to go with it. Like, just that's how it is out here, man. And you're just like, all right, like, cool.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, just I guess we're going to adapt to something else.
Who needs a PA? Just play Friends in Low Places over
and
over.
So, I mean, shit, if anyone wants to throw an acoustic guitar on the back of their bike and bring it out there, like, we'll put you up on the pirate ship. You bring good vibes like that, then, I mean, shit, we're about it.
Yeah. That is a thing, man. Like, a good acoustic, guitar or something, just anything. It has to be acoustic because electric guitar sound a little weird without a speaker.
Yeah.
Just clink, 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 clink.
There is some power down there. Like, we'll have some music and stuff going down. Like, we'll set up all the camping spots. Like, it's going to be. But, I mean, if you want to go out to the Terlingua graveyard, like, that's a cool exploration part. A lot of Saturday night people walked out to the Terlingua graveyard, and that's a whole entire experience in itself.
Yeah.
Like, the Starlight Theater is a whole entire experience in itself. Like, we were out there having beers and watching the guy play spoons on stage. It's just like you're just in a different fucking world, and it just feels good. There's nothing that doesn't.
That makes sense.
Totally makes it worth it. Like the whole way out there. Once you get there and you kind of realize, and it makes it all make sense. That's why, like, next time you want to go out there, you're like, oh, it's totally worth it. I know we're looking at 700 miles just to chill, but it's worth it.
Yeah, you just have to make it. Like with Dunny, with Adam, like a lot of the guys that came out there. Adam's now a very good close friend of us. He's from Houston, and he was a barber that knew, I believe, Johnny. And we hooked him up with we hooked him up with our friend Jamie that also rode out there, and that was one of his first long rides that he'd ever experienced. I think he's been riding for about a year.
Nice.
And
they were talking about, like, it was like 30 degrees whenever they left.
Oh yeah, like we got fucking we got downpoured on when it was a bad fucking storm. A cold front came through when we all left that day.
I'm talking about them, Jamie and Adam. All them. They said that they got up one morning when they're on the way there, and basically they said it was like 30 degrees and they didn't bring no coats or nothing. So
they were that's that time. I was gonna ask you like what the weather was like because I've done a couple runs across the High Plains Desert out there in late October, early November before. And at night it's gnarly.
So it gets cold. We're looking at probably low 60s, low 60s, high 50s, probably low 60s. So if you are riding out and camping, so bring like moderate cold weather sleeping bags or anything so you can be comfortable. But it is the desert, so it's going to get cold at night. Stakes aren't going to really work out there either. A lot of the guys last year put rocks and stuff. So just when you try and set up, like no one had any issues setting up tents. They kind of figured out their own way of doing it, but stakes aren't going to work out there.
Yeah, there's no trees for like hammocks and all that shit, huh?
Tumbleweeds.
Yeah. I mean, you can try and figure something out. Like a lot of people did, but I mean, once you got it up, like there was a little bit of trying to figuring stuff out, and then once you get your tent and everything up, park your bike right next to it, and you're golden.
Yeah, that's dope. Mm-hmm. So how like, what made you want to like make this an official like event as opposed to just you and the homies do it every year, kind of like you did originally? Just for the experience, like to try to help other people.
Yes,
inspire them to ride their bike, go check out this area. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So the first year, we probably had between 50 and 60 people last year, and just every single person, you can just see it in them to where like. It just gives something back to you. And it's one of those areas to where we can finally kind of bring motorcycles into this and keep that kind of, keep safe the fact of why we ride bikes. Yeah. Like I ride bikes because I need that escape and I need that sense of refilling.
Yeah.
And then you go out to Terlingua and then it's all served to you on a silver platter. Like everyone there is just the exact person you wish was around you all the time.
Yeah.
And then to give that to other people to where we can actually keep that safe. And that's the biggest thing to where like they'll realize that when they roll into this town, how special it really is and what it has to offer them and how it has to offer them as an individual. Like that's why I wanted to make it something to where this isn't just for us. It's not for small groups. It should be for everyone to come out here because like I was talking about Adam earlier, but he's a shining example of a newer rider that had probably a year under his belt, came out to Terlingua, and after that he had a ride. He rode to Oklahoma. He was riding to work every single day. It re-inspired him and built a connection with his motorcycle that helped him through so many other things in his life. And that's one of those things to why would you hide that? Why would you keep that with anything? Why wouldn't you want to try to give that to as many people as possible?
Yeah.
I've got a good buddy from Arkansas, Jake, and he made it to y'all's last year. Or Evan, I'm sorry.
Evan.
I believe
he's a good dude.
He brought his buddy Jake with him, but it inspired him. A handful of other stuff, but he made his first Sturgis trip this year. He's done a few other, I wouldn't call it a small ride, but a moderate ride, something where maybe you can't get out for a week and a half, 2 weeks, but fuck it, I can get out for 3 days. I can knock off 1,500 miles, 2,000 miles. He's done a couple of those since then. So hats off to you guys because I know he really got he wanted to go, he did, and man, it did nothing but just push that bug.
Yeah, because you start chasing that feeling, and once you get it, you're just like.
Did you come up to the Polar Ride when we did that?
No, in Arkansas.
No, it was in Shreveport, but a lot of Houston dudes did come up. There was a big Houston presence.
Yeah, the first one was in Shreveport, and then last year was in Oklahoma City. It was a lot smaller.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna keep doing it?
Yeah, we'll probably have to go back to Shreveport if we were. Shreveport had a vibe, but
okay.
And that was COVID time. I mean,
it was COVID time, so like there was a lot of things that weren't open and wasn't available to us. But
we went to the Waffle House of casinos, and they were still kind of playing by the rules. You know, bars shut down.
Restaurants couldn't eat anything. But in a sense, though, I mean, like we tried to make it Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City has a fucking vibe too. Like it's dope up there. Like I don't know if you've been up there in a while, but it's nice.
Shit, the last time I was I think the COVID camp out was the last time I went over to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, because y'all left the COVID and then went over to see
the fucking Tiger King. Then rode through Oklahoma City. Yeah, I haven't been there since then.
Oklahoma's got a vibe, man. It's dope, but there's I don't know what there's so many things that took place around the COVID time that everybody was so hungry to get out that it felt like every event was that much more amplified. You know what I'm saying? And I think this year, the rest of this year and the beginning of next year is going to kind of let us know for sure. It's like, no, this really isn't a great event. It was just a great event because everybody wanted to get out in 2020 and early 21. So we'll see. We'll do another Polar Ride. Down south was another one that was a fucking massive, badass time the first year. It was still badass last year. Yeah. Just it got rained out, so it's hard to. It's like did you go? You came the year the camp out, not this one, but last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the one we had the whole day of rain. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
To where it was like half the people's tents flooded and everything like that. Yeah, it was like the Nile going down that campground. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was rough.
Shit happens, man.
Yeah.
Is that the one you got there at night and you parked your bike in my tent? I had a big tent.
That's where we stayed in the tent, and somebody else's bike was parked in that tent.
Tucker. Maybe Tucker or something.
So we brought all of our tent shit, but we didn't check the tent shit. And so when we got there, and then I literally fucking unwrapped it and dropped it on the ground, and I didn't hear any noise at all. And I'm like, okay, this isn't good. And so it was just the tent stuff, no stakes, no nothing. And I'm like, shit. And Candy was with me at the time, and I'm like, all right, we don't have an actual tent to stay in. So
tent, just no poles.
Yeah. And like shit. So did I talk to you, or how did we get to the tent to where basically like they're like, hey, we have our buddy sleeping in a tent. I guess it hailed right before that, and we literally rolled his bike out of this 12-person tent, this big fucking tent, and then he's sleeping in the tent, and me and Ken, like I didn't bring a lot of blankets or anything like that. Like I'm changing my ways to where since I'm hashtag bagger life now. Yeah. To where I upgraded my tent, and I got some better sleeping because it used to just be 2 Mexican blankets in a 1-person tent, and so I think we borrowed a fucking a packing blanket, like it would like moving moving blanket. We borrowed one of those and rolled a bunch of our stuff on like in a roll. There's still this passed out dude we don't know on the other end of this tent, and we roll this bike out, and then me and Candy are kind of on this roll thing that we made with this moving blanket. And then what I forgot to think that, okay, there's this dude on the other end, because I wake up, and when I wake up, I need to get some coffee. This is a road trip and stuff. Yeah. And so I wake up, leave for coffee, and then it finally clicked that this dude's going to wake up with this woman in his tent, his bike backed out of the tent, and having no idea probably what is going on whatsoever. So...
Well, don't worry about him. He got into golf or something. I don't know. He's not around no more.
Yeah. He was a good dude. But
love you, Tucker, if you're still listening, but come to the fuck house sometime.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the map of Big Bend here. That real iconic area that people always take pictures of, I guess it's the Santa Lena Canyon Overlook. Y'all go check that out.
Yes. So that's going to be the Big Bend ride. Yeah. So Santa Lena Canyon is
that's like the more famous shot of Big Bend. It's like literally two walls and the Rio Grande going between it.
Like
it's like the separation, right, of Mexico and
And it's even the pictures. Like we went there at sunset. So and just riding over there is, I mean, you're carving some shit to get out there. It's probably a good hour and a half ride to get over to the canyon. But I mean, you're on the Rio. If you want to walk across the Rio and go over to Mexico, you can do that. We did that. There's like a herd of fucking goats that we can hear over there, you know. And like my friend Kayla was with us, and she wanted to take a piss in Mexico, so she walked across the street, dropped trowel, and took a piss on the other side of the fucking canyon. You know, I mean, you can do all of that. And like, it's,
so why is everybody having such a hard time getting over here if you can just run right there?
Well, it's also a canyon, so I mean, eventually, like, you have to climb up the canyon and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's like it's about like a maybe. Did you go down there or
To what?
to the canyon? It's probably
No,
like
not that part, no.
it's a little bit of a walk down to the river, and then it opens up to the entire canyon, and then to your right is just nature and its beauty. And
It's
then
got all
it's
these big, huge round rocks that have slime all over them. So
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, I'm going to dip my toes in the Rio Grande. And you go down there and it's like ice skating. And you're like, nope, I'm not going to retch my ankle.
oh, that water's cold as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something in itself. Like that's definitely one of the Big Bend rides to go, probably closer towards the evening, and then because that at the sunset is a priceless memory that hopefully as many people can experience.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map still, and I do want to go check out like Valentine, Marfa, Fort Davis, Alpine, all those, because I've never done any of that. So
if you're bringing
Marathon's pretty cool too.
Where?
Marathon?
Like
if you're coming in on 90, like they have this happening coffee spot. Like there's like, I guess all the travelers like stop. So there's like this one little area of town that has like this huge line, but the women like make the coffee and stuff. The coffee place.
Yeah.
And they're super nice, but it's like the youth that's there. You're like, man, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and there's all these like 20-something, 30-something-year-old people, and they're like, yeah, we're just out sightseeing. But everybody's getting their lattes and all that other shit, and you're just like,
it's kind of
"Can I
Colorado
just get
vibe.
coffee, black, please."
How is Del Rio like?
So
Because I'm thinking like go come around and loop and then come back the south end all the way like San Antonio and back up to Dallas.
So Del Rio, basically, like, to be honest, the rides like to get out there
It's like
from
Sicario.
it's okay, but until Del Rio. After Del Rio is when you start fucking hitting it. After Del Rio's you just said the bridge.
It's very
Yeah, and also when you're going through Del Rio,
Tex-Mexy.
they did commission a lot of state police for Border Patrol. So when you're going through Del Rio,
Ours or theirs?
our state police.
that was when all the people were on
So,
the bridge.
yeah.
Like last year, all those people were staying on the bridge, so they had a high presence of border control guys. So
Yeah.
once you leave Del Rio, though, I mean, it's pretty open. But once you're coming into Del Rio, that's where all the they're looking.
So heavy police presence in Del Rio, but they are commissioned towards Border Patrol, so they're not currently doing traffic, anything like that. So obviously, if there's a heavy police presence, ride at your own accord, because you're going to see a lot of them. Just don't be alarmed by it. That's basically just the state of the border, and they're commissioned to assist with Border Patrol, not traffic, not state, anything like that. So just chill out going through Del Rio. Once you go past Del Rio, there is a Border Patrol checkpoint there. All they're going to do is they're going to ask you, hey, are you an American citizen? Yes. Where are you going? Just let them know Terlingua, and they're going to wave you through. So we're going to let them know that we have the Terlingua run going on that weekend, so they're going to be aware. There's going to be a lot of motorcycle riders, so as long as you just say, hey, I'm an American citizen going to Terlingua, they're going to wave you straight through. So don't think it's scary. Don't think it's intimidating. Nothing. Like, they're just literally going to just ask you 2 questions and wave you through just like every other motorist that goes through that thing.
We were going through the other border checkpoint on the way back from California. Didn't you say, like, you said you told Justin, my machine was like, hey, just so you know, I put like a bunch of Coke in your saddlebag.
By the way, you got the Coke coming back from California. I forgot to tell you that before we left the Airbnb. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Be cool, man. Be cool.
Yeah. So, and there's only 2 checkpoints. One's going to Terlingua, so that's going to be right after Del Rio and right before the bridge. The bridge is a cool place to stop at. That's going to be like that's a good place to stretch your legs, and it's a good place to take photos. The other checkpoint's going to be as if you're headed north from Terlingua, so headed to Alpine. There's a Border Patrol checkpoint heading north from Terlingua. So same scenario. Don't feel intimidated. Don't feel anything. If they're gonna do anything, they're not there to hem anybody up. They're not gonna do it. They're not. Just answer their questions, chill out, and just go forward.
Yeah. Border Patrol or the border cross or the checkpoints. They've never really been that that bad.
No,
You know what I mean?
they're fine, and just it's 5 minutes of your time, so just don't be intimidated or anything like that.
Yeah, and you're on a bike, so it ain't like you're bringing people
Yeah.
across the border and shit like that. And you're going to the border too. Yeah, it'd be fine. How have you done Marfa? Done any of that stuff? Is it pretty dope there? I know it's a trendy ass spot, but
So if you're bringing your old lady, take her to Valentine.
Don't.
So yeah,
don't ruin everybody else's trip.
Like you got the Prada. You got the Prada
That's
installation in Valentine. It's a really cool story. We'll probably post. We actually the last time we went over there, we had one of the groundskeepers that kind of gave us the story. We spoke with him for a good time, and we'll probably put that up so you can kind of see what that art installation is about. But it's a cool place to where you can pull over. It's probably 30 minutes out, maybe less than that, north of Marfa.
Yeah.
And it's a cool Prada that you can see Prada shoes and stuff like that. But it's just a random, they call it an art installation, but it's this random Prada like setup in Valentine. And then if you want to bring a lock, it's also a good thing to do with your old lady because it's one of those lock things that you have like on the bridges and stuff like that.
Like in London or in I think it's France or London has a lock bridge.
Yeah, they're all over. I think Seattle's got one somewhere.
Yeah, so from what he kind of told us is you're locking a secret, but it also goes like either or. You can be locking a love or anything, but you can have that experience at the
Sounds
Prada
like some
store.
spiritual
He
shit.
bought it. Line and sinker. He's like, oh my god. He's like, I'll sell you a lock for $20.
Yeah, it kind of
Shut
sounds
up
like
and take
if she's
my
riding
money.
passenger and she's been on your bike for 600 miles, sounds like a good thing to
Yeah,
do
like
to
that
get another
guy that
200
comes
miles
up
out of her.
with the roses and the camera. Hey, you take a picture.
Like, that's a good place to stop. Alpine's a really good place to stop. There's some hotels in Alpine. There's one biker hotel if you want to stay there. It's a little inflated, but it's more Harley Davidson driven. If you're headed like for Dallas, your route's going to be to Alpine. You're not going to hit any Border Patrol checkpoints headed towards Alpine and going down south.
Yeah.
The only people that'll hit checkpoints is heading from Houston, San Antonio. If you're taking 90, then that's the one that's going to be after Del Rio.
Yeah. So how many days is the event? Like, what's the schedule?
It's 3 days.
Yeah.
So come at, we say 7 p.m. Please come earlier if you can. But also if you want to spend a couple extra days there, please do. If you can spend about 5 days there, like that's the best experience you can have. We're kind of packing it into the weekend because I know people have jobs, people have lives and stuff like that to where we want to.
October's a busy month. You're already making a sacrifice to make it down there.
Yeah. So 3 days is good to where just put the ride in. Friday night's going to be a nice chill meet and greet and stuff, and you can kind of soak it all in. Saturday's going to be a lot of riding. So, like, get some food in. Like, DB Rustic's going to have food set up to where you can get your energy supplied and whatnot.
Yeah.
The rides will probably be the next day around 10 a.m. We're going to work on getting breakfast and stuff to where it kind of will get things moving. Yeah. But, I mean, show up on Friday. We'll be there on Thursday. But if you kind of want to set it up to where you're there on Wednesday, that's perfectly fine. It's one of those environments to where it's all organic.
Yeah. I think I would like to, like leave Wednesday and maybe stay in like an Alpine or Marfa. Just do some shit like that and check out some of these other areas before I kind of make it in. I always try to tell people, like, if you're camping, like, always try to get there before the sun goes down. It sucks putting up tents in the dark and you don't really know the environment very well. And it's nothing better than getting your tent set up and you're looking at your watch. It's like, oh shit, it's only 5:30. Like, man,
beer time, baby.
Let's go get a beer. And you have a couple of those like late afternoon beers before like everybody else gets there. Like some of the best.
Are you guys have a restroom up here?
No, you gotta go down.
It's down. Yeah.
I got a quick question, Adam. You mentioned Lajitas, which I've heard a lot of good stuff about. Apparently, one of the best golf, one of the most.
Oh yeah, they got a good old country club there.
Yeah, it's like a resort, but it's in Lajitas. So as far as that, and I know you guys said something about running through Del Rio. I don't know if y'all are going to stop there. Does anybody need a passport? Are there any border towns or plan on crossing over?
There are. That's strictly up to them. We're not going to be passing into Mexico or anything like that. If you do want a passport and do want to venture off, that's available to you. But to be honest, I mean, if you have the time to do that, cool. It's kind of I don't like if that's something you want to do. I don't really see you needing a passport. If you want to go to the border, that's fully up to you.
The only place you can jump over is Presidio, right?
No, Presidio's up north. I don't know where the passovers are. So, but I mean, if they want to bring a passport and figure that out, yeah. But we're not looking into going into Mexico.
So there's no trips to Ciudad Acuña or Boys Town planned, as you just passing straight through Del Rio, huh? Mm-hmm. There you go.
Like, you just got to get there. Trust. Like, once Del Rio hits, because after you got the Pecos River Bridge, after that, God, it's passing my brain. But there's another little town my buddy Rooster lives in, to where hopefully he'll have something set up.
That's a badass name.
Hell of a pilot, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw Maverick again the other day.
Yeah, because there's the Desert Air Motel that's over there. Like, if you're looking to go a little bit earlier, taking Highway 90, strongly recommend the Desert Air Motel. Like, it's a bad little place. Like, we've had some good memories that are over there, and it's probably an hour and a half to 2 hours out of Terlingua. And then if you have a carbureted motorcycle, leaving the desert air and hitting the actual base of Big Bend with a motor that's loving every second of this like 65, 70 degree weather, it's a fucking experience. Yeah. And like, every time I try and go there for my own personal times going there, I always stay at the Desert Air Motel. And that's just a cool little town you can go through. The last time we went there, they had a supercar set up to where there's a road that's right after that town, to where they set up a bunch of supercars that go all the way to Fort Stockton. So there were McLarens, there were Maseratis and Lamborghinis and everything around there. We ended up going to one of their cookouts to where the mayor of the town ended up What's the Desert Air Motel? What's that town called? Where Rooster's at?
Man, I really don't know.
God damn it!
I can't think of the name of it, but I know there's like that judge
Sanderson.
Ha! That's it.
Okay, so Sanderson.
Talk to Sanderson.
So after Del Rio is going to be Sanderson. And so if you're leaving early and want somewhere to crash before the event, definitely Sanderson, the Desert Air Motel is a badass place to stay.
Plus, there's a really cool gas station right across the street. So.
They can give you some tacos.
Yes.
Nice. So that's where I like to stay every time I go to Terlingua, solely for the fact that morning is one of the most beautiful mornings you can have.
It's like a motor lodge.
It's got a nice little vibe there. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's got like a motor lodge where it's almost like prison cell, kind of concrete walls, but has a bed. But it's real basic, real nice. There's a loud ass train that goes by, but
so it's a good, genuine fucking town. And if you're down there, please hit up Rooster. He's over in the downtown section of Sanderson. He's a pinstriper and an amazing artist. And but he's down there, and, he's a supporter of the event. But that's definitely a place like that you can add to your experience. To where if you want to leave on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, stay in Sanderson at the Desert Air Motel, and then head over to Terlingua in the morning. It's the shit.
It's like Twin Peaks. It has like a Twin Peaks vibe to it, where it's like a motor lodge, and like we all just sat out there listening to music. Drinking beer. And
hell yeah, we played dice outside of that motherfucker. Like we partied at the Desert Air Motel. Like it's a lot of fun, and just then that morning you're just hauling ass, and then you finally feel it. Like you finally get it. It's fucking.
And they sell merch there too. Like they buy, like refrigerator magnets. And
they got a dope little marquee sign out front.
Oh yeah, it lights up. I got a picture of it on my phone, but it lights up at night, like right when the sun's going down. It's just like Twin Peaks.
So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, like trying to get together a group of guys that want to do shit like that, because when you're like going on trips to take pictures and shit, you kind of want to be at certain places at certain times of day. Yeah. So like that spot, like you want to be there right when the sun's coming up, get the sign with the fucking like blue hour or golden hour, depending on the look. And you want to be able to do that. And some, like I said, when you have for me, I'm just thinking like, I would rather have a bunch of photographer homies that are out there trying to get those shots too. That way, none of us feel like we're being selfish with this trip, trying to do all this stuff for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also you don't feel so obligated to where if other guys are also capturing at the same time, you don't feel so stressed to capture every single moment. It kind of stretches out that feeling, and you can enjoy it just as much as the next guy.
There's so many photographers in Texas. I mean, you talked about Nathan Schultz earlier. You got Mason. You got. I need to put it out there to get some feelers and find a couple of dudes that want to do it. That can do it, that have a bike that can go on a trip for 5, 6, 7 days, and make it all happen. So, I mean,
it's a good fucking idea, and especially bringing out beautiful photography and stuff like that. Like that's hell.
It's got like a Route 66 vibe.
Yeah.
When I was looking at that
Yeah.
hotel, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Even the whole town, it's got it's got a Route 66 vibe. Is what that's the only way I can describe it. It looks like a desert town that you would find in like Flagstaff or not Flagstaff, but like all those like west of Flagstaff on Route 66. That's where all the cool shit is.
Yeah, so there's a bar connected to the desert air, and because like when we came there, we were like, hey, where can we drink at? And well, there's a bar here, but how many guys you guys got? Like, we let her know. It's like, okay, well, we'll wake up so and so, and he'll go open the bar for you guys.
That's how the San Juan was.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, and then that's basically how it was. Like the guy lives there. He opened up the bar and started serving us. Like that's kind of the vibe of Sanderson.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like saying Sanderson.
Yeah. It's got a good name to it.
It's a cool, like everything out there is cool. Like last year, we had to announce that they were shutting down. Was it from Alpine they had a Shelby?
Yeah, they have like a multiple leg, I guess, like a race.
Yeah.
And so like they were just, I don't think it was in our area where we were going, but they were like just letting everybody know south of where we were at is where they were.
Which was Shelby GT500s and basically a big Mustang group, because that's kind of Carroll Shelby. That's where the chili cook-off came from. Was Carroll Shelby owns a bunch of land, and then he's the one that kind of built up the chili cook-off. So you have a.
What do you know about that? Because that's a lot of people. They hear the word Terlingua, and that's the first thing that comes to mind is the chili
What
cook-off.
do you usually call that? You say
What?
It's like Burning Man
For geriatrics?
So it's an older person's game.
Yeah, it's like I'll be at the chili cook-off one day in my life. I got a couple of decades before I hit that, but
The way it sounds is I always figured, okay, it's just probably some hippie, some Austin type people. I just figured it was kind of a party in the desert and chili.
Chili
just kind
sounds
of
so
It
funny.
is a party in the
does,
desert.
right?
Yeah,
But,
so I'm getting this from like a kind of a Carroll Shelby documentary to where he owned a bunch of land out there and kind of devised this idea for a chili cook-off. And it just over the years just turned into this like special event. And I don't know the numbers. The last time I looked at it was probably 10,000 people show up for this chili cook-off. And like it takes over Terlingua, like, and it's just
it's their Sturgis, It's bigger than them kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome though if they've got something like that.
Oh yeah, and then it's a big deal whoever wins the chili cook-off. But I mean, it is to me, it looks like this big fucking party out in the desert, and you have these chili cookers and stuff, and there's a bunch of RVs and everything. Like that's what that town kind of the chili cook-off is, and I think that's in the beginning of November. But yeah, that very much the heritage of that goes to Carroll Shelby and his land and everything, and him like out there. I've been there a couple of times to where there's a lot of Shelby boxcars and stuff that you'll see going through the gravel roads and whatnot. But there's a big Mustang presence out there because of Carroll Shelby.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're into cougars,
So
that's
yeah,
where to go. I'm
is
just a
it?
cub, man. Leave me alone.
so it is just that unique atmosphere, like especially like when we went so the last when was that? Because we were going through Sanderson. I think that was when we went for last year, and then we met up with Rooster. He was kind of outside, so we were pulling through Sanderson, and we saw Rooster outside. I knew that he's setting up shop on the major road there. And he was friends with maybe not the mayor, but someone in leadership for Sanderson. And then she was just like, hey, we're having this kind of potluck over here for all these supercars that are here. So, and they were super open, super welcome. And so we're like, all right, cool. We can turn around and go see what this is about. And we roll in there, and literally, like, there's these beautiful, like, Lamborghinis and Maserati, McLarens. And other supercars, Bugattis.
Probably had a couple real nice Kias in there too, huh?
Stinger.
Maybe. So, and like they were all tuners and everything like that. So this is all like high end. Like these guys are hauling ass. And there's a road that takes you to Fort Stockton, which is one of the most dangerous roads ever. And fuck, I wish if you can look on your phone at Sanderson, I think it's 240 something, is a big no-go road.
285.
So maybe.
It's
It's right after Sanderson.
Fort Stockton.
Yeah, and it heads up to Fort Stockton.
It's
So
like all the oil field
Yeah.
roads, man, where they got all them guys running the drill pipe and the mud and all that stuff, man. They're just hauling ass.
So just dangerous road. Stay away from that road. You got a lot of 18-wheelers. You got a lot of guys hauling ass and making money. So
Yeah, it's like 285 is the only one.
Yeah, so they shut down. I think that was 285 that they shut down, and we're basically doing like these supercar runs from Sanderson to Fort Stockton. So it's just like that's a world that we're not even used to, having seen these things going around. So
yeah, but the fact that they're out there and where you're doing this, where this ride's going on, that's a fucking vibe. It
is.
You know
Yeah.
and it's got to be a testament to the roads and just the credibility of how badass it is out there. Because those guys have money to burn. So if they're out there, there's something to it. Because people with money, they don't waste time in places that suck. That's one thing I've noticed.
like super open. Like she was just like, no, come out there. It was free food. Like, and we're just out there chilling. And the guys were like, hey, where are you guys coming from? And we're like, oh shit, we were out here from Houston. And they're just like, Jesus Christ. Like, all right. And then we just bullshitting with these dudes that are just like big league tuners and like all these, and they're just out there drinking, eating free food and having a good time. Like the lady that runs the town shook our hand, was excited to have us there. And then we just threw our kickstands up and headed to Terlingua. Like it was.
That's got such a vibe of like our big trip, the 2-week stuff that we usually do, just our group. That it just sounds so cool, man.
It is, and like at the end, that's when like you finally get it, and that's. I hope every single person that comes out to Terlingua can get that same feeling of just like, man, like all you got to do is do it. You just got to throw your kickstand up, get out there, and it's a difficult ride. Like I ran out of gas. I solo rode it back from Terlingua on that Monday. And you're fighting fucking Texas, West Texas winds, and so my gas mileage went from like maybe 130 to a tank to like 80, and I ran out of fucking gas coming back, and I was fucking tailing a semi because it was like 4 or 5 miles to the next gas stop, so I'm fucking drafting a semi, and then of course I fucking hit my reserve, and then my reserve goes to shit, so I pull over, and at the same time there's a truck with a long bed trailer, like pulled over to it. And I thought, I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this guy's used to this. He's a local, and he's used to fucking motorcycles running out of gas all the time. So I'm like,
smells rapey.
So I'm hoping
He's been waiting
that
on you
this
just
guy
to
is
lick
pulling
his
over
lips.
like it's
Hold on,
another.
let me call you back. I'm about to get a blowjob.
I'm like,
Bluetooth fish on.
So I'm hoping this guy's another dude that's like, this fucking motherfucker's out of gas, just like every other rider that goes down this road. And so he pulls over. I pull in behind him. He comes out of his door and just throws his fucking hands up. And I'm like, hey, I'm out of gas. And this guy's like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, well, shit. Like, so we're both out of fucking gas. He's pulling a probably 25-foot flat trailer. And then literally, like, when we both said that, there's a tow truck, like a semi, like the big motherfucking tow trucks. And like he hits his brakes, pulls, like goes through the big fucking like divider in between the two lanes, pulls in behind us, and then pulls a 5-gallon gas tank, and it's just like, you guys need some help. And I'm like, yeah. So I ended up pouring maybe 1.5 gallons. I poured a very minuscule amount because this guy's a fucking pulling a big ass trailer, and I know where the gas station is at. So I think that this will fucking make it all the way there. So I get my bike started, he gets going, I get going, he takes the rest of the gas. I probably get another 2 miles down the road. And then I start I'm already on reserve. I'm still drafting semis, probably going like 60 miles an hour. And then I start fucking like, bump, bump. I'm like, well, shit. And I take an exit to try, because the exits go up and the exits go down. So I'm like, okay, well, I can go up and then go down this exit and try and coast myself all the way down there. So I'm trying to conserve fuel as much as possible. But of course, this goddamn FXR is not going to make it. And I probably ran out of gas at about 1.5 miles, probably a little under 2 miles out of this thing. And you're also in West Texas, so you can't just sit there and stop. And like my motorcycle, like I don't trust anybody that's going by. So it's like, well, you immediately have to be like, all right, well, the only thing you have left is just to push it. Yeah. So I just and it gets worse so I had a fuel can on the back of my bike. I guess I took a rock to it, because when I opened it, there was a huge crack in the lid of it, and their fuel just dripped all over my whole entire pack. So I was completely out of fuel in my fuel can. Had no other so I was fucked out of everything.
So did you put fuel in that?
Eventually at the gas station, and I bought a fucking water bottle and then filled that with fuel. But I had to push this motherfucker almost 2 miles down to the gas station. And then once I made it there, the story gets cooler, because then this other guy in this old fucking square body fucking Chevy rolls up and starts cracking up laughing at me, Because I'm fucking like, when I got there, I'm like, my hands on my fucking knees. Like, I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I'm out of fucking breath. And this dude's laughing at me, and he's just like, man, I remember those days when I ran out of fucking gas. I'm just like, yeah. And then he ended up bringing up stories about how just fucking about the West Texas, riding around here, about the winds, and just running out of gas after pushing bikes to gas stations and stuff. And then, like, I knew about the water bottle, but he's just like, let me get you some Aquafina or whatever, and and then dumped it out, and I filled that with gas and threw it in my front thing, and then hit the road back again. But it was just, like, all of that. Like, I wouldn't change it for anything. Like,
I'm glad you made it.
I know. Yeah. Like,
Terrible.
like, God damn. Like, that was, because it's up and downhill, you know? Like, it's not an easy thing to do, but that's part of riding out there.
I've never ran out of gas anywhere other than in Dallas.
Other than the place you live?
Yeah. So it's funny. So 2 times I ran out of gas. One time I had put Dakota Digitals in like one of my baggers, and it said I had gas, and then I didn't have gas. So it was like it wasn't calibrated right. Fortunately, it just like I was stopped. I had to go walk back up and on ramp and get like a gas can and shit. Mm-hmm. And then the other time was the same bike, same digital thing, and I got off the highway and there's a gas station across the street. So it was like, you know, like less than a quarter-mile walk each time. But I would just leave the bike there, go get a gas can, and then come back. Because this was my big wheel days. Like, not trying to push that fucking down the road. That's like...
I always reset my my mileage on my tachometer. I always do that because that thing is it's true as an arrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna see when you're getting close to 100 miles and it's time to find a spot to stop.
The reason I didn't do it on that is because it had that big ass front wheel on it. And was inaccurate.
Yeah, that'll do it.
But no, it was just that was the only time. And then when I had my FXR, funny enough, we were talking about him earlier, and I still can't remember his name.
Who? God damn
Jeremy.
it. Oh, shit.
We were with Jeremy, and I feel like it starts with a C.
Calvin.
Justin?
No. Maybe. No, because he went by a nickname.
I feel like his name is Justin, though.
Yeah.
Justin feels really good.
Yeah, that does feel pretty good.
So the year that I rode the FXR to Sturgis, me and my brother went, and we ended up connecting with Jeremy out of Houston, and I think Justin is. We're gonna go with Justin because I think that's his name.
Yeah,
they were all hanging out
losing
at the
it right
tattoo
now.
shop. Yeah, they were all hanging out at the tattoo shop where, like, I guess Jeremy's dad used to run like this property on Main Street that a lot of the HA dudes were at, but it was a tattoo shop as well.
Yeah.
And so we just linked up with them the entire time we were in Sturgis, and we went and did Needles one day, and FXR was running out of gas. And like when you come off Needles, like you have an option to go towards Custer State Park or like back to the main road, which there's a gas station at, but it's equal mileage each way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know how I did. I had never on that gold FXR. I'd never gotten anything over like 130 something miles an hour or.
Miles per gallon?
Miles per gallon.
Yeah.
That one I pushed it to like 155 and I made it. Wow. I was like, wow.
Damn.
So
all right.
And that was weird. I had a Pingle
petcock
on it, so I didn't have a reserve. So it just like when it was out, it was gone.
Yeah, you were done.
Yeah, so that was always a weird thing. It came on the bike, so I didn't.
Yeah, that's the one thing I finally figured out was fuel mileage. So I finally managed to balance power with fuel mileage because that bike runs at 90. Like that's her sweet spot. Like she stays at 90. She's happy there. Yeah. But I'm also getting like 180 to 200 miles to a tank at 90. So like when we rode to your last camp out, like I was a quarter mile over the rest of the bikes. Like, but I also got a Bobby Wood CV carburetor. I mean, it's spaced out 2 inches. That motor is very, very well tuned. But I think it's that Bobby Wood CV. Well, it's the engineering of the CV carburetor. But now that it's giving me the power, like that bike is beating 103s, 107s. I got
starting a bunch of shit right now. I can already see it.
So it's just that was my biggest thing with the FXR4 is like I've been trying for 3.5 years to have my cake and eat it too. And I feel like finally, like that was a lot of parts. That was a lot of wasted money. It was a lot of stuff that didn't kind of vibe together. And it was a lot of just, okay, well, this doesn't work. What can work? And then finally, like she's at a point to where like she's not only a touring motorcycle, but she's a performance touring motorcycle. It's where I got the fuel economy. You just got to maintain it to make sure it stays going. But I mean, she just like on the way to Oklahoma, like she just killed it. Like,
yeah, that's what sucks about the baggers, like big ass motor, all that shit. Like, if I'm running in the 70 to maybe low 80 mile per hour range, I can get like 160 out of it, maybe 170, depending on the terrain and the wind. But before I did that motor, man, I could get 213, 220 miles out of that fucking thing. It was retarded. It was so nice.
yeah, but that also, like, who wants to ride for 200
So that's the thing is,
fucking
I would
miles?
never do that. But like when I ride solo, I always tell people this. Like, I'll map out 3 stops. Right, the first one's like 110. See how I feel, and then the next one's like 120 or 130, and maybe one that's like 155, 160. That way, if I come to these stops, I'm like, I feel pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and push another 20 miles. You know what I mean? That way, I have options, and it just depends too on the where you're at in the country to be able to do that. So, but honestly, like, I feel like we hit a couple stretches when we were solo leaving Boise, where like we left Boise, it was like, yo, there's like we're gonna have to stop in 60 miles and gas up because the next stop isn't for 130 or some shit like that. So,
Yeah, we had one where we passed the gas station, and it right after we got by it, I'm double checking my range. I think we'd hit some bad wind or something, and I see the next gas, and I had to run and go, hey, I ain't gonna make it. I'm sorry, we gotta turn back around and hit this real quick, and it just is what it is.
yeah. But I mean, for the most part, like almost everywhere in the country, there's just a couple pockets here and there, and it's usually those connector highways from like, you know, to like you got all the east and west highways, all the even numbers, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 70. And there's like gas stations everywhere. Like you will rarely see like more than a 60-mile stretch without gas. Now maybe down on 10, like I haven't ridden that part yet, from like where 20 splits off to like where you split down to go to Bandera. I haven't ridden any of that on 10 yet. That's the only part of 10 the entire country that I haven't ridden. And
The only thing I don't like about those is some of the older gas stations have older tanks.
yeah.
So, like a couple of people I know that had like, you know, pretty big motors and stuff. They said, man, dude, that stuff's killing my bike. So we had to stop by a dirt bike place, get some octane.
Yeah,
and put
yeah.
it in there because like it was like 87, but it was like 87 with like a gallon or 2 of water on top of it. So like they had these big inch motors. They were just like, pa 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 pa.
Yeah.
And it was like they were looking at me like, oh no, and like they some of the guys brought octane booster with them because they expected it, and I just remember that. I was like, man, always go to the brand new ones. Always go to the brand new ones.
Well, that's how it is in like around the camp out in Oklahoma. Like a couple of the gas stops are like that where they don't have it. But and even around Sturgis in some areas, like on the real outskirts of Sturgis, you might only catch like an 87 or 80, 88 or 89 or something like that. But man, you can I've never not been able to go in and also get an octane booster to go with it. So
Right. Yeah, I learned that lesson. I had a built motor on a dyno one time, and I think I put some pretty bad gas in it, man. And the bike didn't want to do more than 55 or 60, and it would start leaning out. You could totally tell. And I just had to back off of it. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry, guys. Y'all are just gonna have to keep going. And they're like, no, man, we'll cruise with you.
So
and
do you ride now? Like what do you ride?
I
now?
got a 93 convertible. Actually, I wasn't even in the market for another FXR.
Yeah.
And then like I got like a big ass paycheck from work, and I was like, I'm gonna look around, and lo and behold, 1 mile from my house, there's a guy that had a untouched 93 Vivid Black convertible, all stock, sitting on a trailer, and he said, yeah, you come fucking buy this bike, you just take the trailer with you. And I was like, $4,000? I was like, golly, why are you doing this to me, to God? You know, like,
Yeah.
I was like, that's all I need. So basically, that's what I started with, and I've just switched it around. I try to make a little like bar to bar bike, and then last year at Terlingua, that little tiny fairing and the little flat seat and shit just wasn't working out. So made a few changes. I had a fairing, and I put that on there. I got paint matched and all that stuff, and now it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like it. It's stock 80, so it's only got so much, but it runs pretty good. It's just trying to get these chassis aligned. I'm having issues.
you were talking about that earlier. Yeah.
I just don't want to blow out the bearing on the transmission, like, trying to run with assholes like this. It's only got so much, and I'm aware of it.
No, but it's a cool bike. Like I got to see the kind of start to finish. So I mean, still kudos.
I humped it. As soon as we got back from Terlingua last year, I was like, nope, I'm going to build me a bike that I can tour on. Fuck this little pocket rocket shit. I was like, and I think by February, I already had it done, painted, put together.
Nice.
And I just jammed on it and then just trying to figure it out. And now I'm still messing with motor alignment and all that stuff and trying to make sure it's right. I just don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere because that's when it always happens.
Yeah.
You know, bearing goes, bing, and you're like, I'm not
It's
that
just
guy.
scary, man.
I'm not that guy that's gonna put a post on Chop Cult like, "Hey, my dumbass blew out a bearing." You know, I'm not that guy. I'm like, fuck, this is what I get.
I've always carried like AAA or at least like a very good insurance policy to where if I did have a breakdown, I could at least get it to the next town or something like that. And I had a dude back in the day when we were doing our bike club stuff. One of the guys we used to do this trip to NorCal every year. Called it the Cali Bull Run because one of our members here moved to NorCal. Of course, we couldn't go fly any colors up there, so we just ride up there to see him and see his life and hang out. And his last name was Bull, and he lived in Cali, so that's how it all kind of came together. And this dude had this like Road King, and he had it all built, badass motor, and we were leaving Las Vegas, and just before we hit the California border, fucking motor just blew. And it sucks, man, because he ended up like just pretty much just renting rented a truck and just threw it in the back of the truck and went home. You know what I mean?
We were on a run with guys I used to ride with, and one of the bikes went down. And we went and got a U-Haul, loaded it in the back. Next thing you know, another bike went down. Next thing you know, by the time we got back, there was like 6 bikes in the back, and there was guys having to ride in the back of the U-Haul because there wasn't no space up front. And we're just like, come on, man, don't do this. That's why whenever you see rain clouds on the side, you pull over, put some rain gear on, just so it won't rain on you. You know, and so we were just like, all right, let's do it. But I'm always the guy that's like, fuck it, I don't feel like dealing with this. So I'll just pull over, put my rain gear on. Let's go.
Yeah, man, I've been known to talk shit about not doing rain gear, and it caught back up to me the last couple of years. Because usually, like, when you're traveling on a bike, rainstorms are like, they come and go. Like, you might get soaked all the way to your fucking underwear, but for the most part, before you get to the next gas stop, you're dry again, right? That's how it's almost always been. But then the 2020, I was coming back from New York. There was a hurricane that came in, and it wasn't a bad hurricane. It didn't, like, fuck up the coast, but it was so many spotty things, and it never let up. And I couldn't go. I couldn't ride. It was like flooding my bike out, even with the rain sock on it. Mm-hmm. And I ended up making it to. I was coming back from New York. I made it to Texarkana, and I was like, dude, I can't go anymore. I called one of the homies in East Texas. He came up and brought a trailer, and he took me back to Dallas. Jacob, one of the best dudes in the world, man. But
one of the worst things that ever happened to me is we were in Sturgis, and like everybody's like, hey. It was a Labor Day thing, and we were like, "Hey, let's just haul ass. Let's ride straight back to Houston." And as soon as we left Sturgis, it started raining. It never stopped the whole way. It's like 27 hours.
Damn.
And we got to the Woodlands, which is right outside of Houston, and there's people like we're stopping at a gas stop, chugging Red Bulls and stuff, and everybody's like, "Man, you think it'd be bad if we got a hotel?" I was like, "Yeah,
like you gotta ask your buddies.
At the Woodlands,
Like, am I being a bitch if I want a hotel?
Everybody's
is it cool?
kind of feeling each other out, you know. I mean, we literally rode 27 hours straight in the rain. Every time we stopped, it was just pouring.
Damn, yeah.
And depending on which way you go, that's like a 1,500-mile ride, right?
I think it was right around that. I think we just came straight down through Nebraska, Kansas, all that, and we were just cooking in the rain, man. Tire spray off the person in front of you, just going. And it's just like. This is Kansas.
Fucking wiping your visors and shit.
And I had one of those crappy asshole Simpsons where it would go right up underneath, right on your nose, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
First off, you can't say that on my podcast.
Oh, Simpsons have a great rain deflection.
I'm going to need you to say 3 Hail Marys.
No, it was a good helmet, man. I had it for a long time.
If you got like an Outlaw Bandit, like that's a 1970s helmet that's just, repurposed for now. Well, and so there's a lot of technology that doesn't exist, but that helmet's like, it's like kind of one of those like badass looking, like sinister looking helmets.
I still have it, and it's still good, and it hasn't cracked or nothing, but I just replaced the visor, and I'll put like those polarized lenses, so it didn't really fit too well, and I get those little raindrops that go in there, and it always goes right to my nose, where you flip it up, and then you're doing this, and now it's just, you're done.
Yeah, but, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Man, I
love those helmets, Simpson. I love them.
When me and my brother rode to Sturgis, on the way home, we were making good time. We were going to be able to do 1,000 in a day. And we were coming into Oklahoma City, and there was, like, storms. You can see them, but they were, like, west of us. Like, I didn't think we were going to get hit by them. And I was like, dude, let's keep pushing, man. Like, you could do 1,000 miles in a day today. Like, you're so close to that whole 1,000-mile thing. he's like, "No, dude, I'm fucking done. Like, we're about to get rained on." But I was like, "Dude, we're not. Look at the radar. We're good. Let's go." And I was bummed because he was so close to 1,000 miles in a day. He just gave up 100%.
Man, it's pretty rough, man. I mean, you have to kind of build up to it, and I think I've done it a few times, and every time I was like, I'm never doing it again. But that last one from Sturgis, I was like, never again.
And I don't mean it to sound like I'm talking shit or anything to him, but I feel like one of the things I noticed whenever I hung out with him a lot, and this is just a pure observation. I don't know if it's whatever, but I feel like maybe his generation doesn't quite put value on saying you did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I'm like, dude, I want to say I did that. I want to say that we sat on the road for 30 days or 29 days. I want to say that I did coast to coast and whatever fictitious, like, challenge I made. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to say that, yeah, I fucking was in Washington in June, and then in November I was in Key West. You know what I mean? Like, on a bike.
Like the Four Corners
Yeah.
thing?
It's something that's
I'm gonna
pretty
disagree a little bit because he lifts weights every day, and he has no problem telling me that he did that, or like telling the world that
he's
he
like, all right,
Yeah.
like I promote health.
and
Yeah, right.
I'm busting his
He
balls.
CrossFits and he's a vegan? What?
Damn.
But yeah, that's another dude that not really in this thing anymore. He decided to pick things up for fun. So
It's something nobody can take away from you.
I love you,
You know,
man.
it's something if they can't do it, then and you did, like
Well,
then
it's a
you'll
desire.
always
I mean,
keep that.
I hear it all the time. Like, people say, like, they have zero desire to ride to Sturgis. Just not whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, hey, you gonna ride? It's like, fuck no, I don't want to ride that far. And nothing you say is gonna change that. Like, it's not in their DNA to give a fuck about doing that.
Yeah.
They love riding, but they don't care to do it that way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's camaraderie in the journey,
I
and
know a
that's
lot of
what I
older cats.
appreciate.
I know a lot of older cats that have made that run so many times, and they're just regular civilians or whatever. But they've been riding for. I mean, shoot, some of these guys are pushing 70, and some of them have been riding since the early 60s. And they're like, man, I'll just throw it in the back of the truck, man. I'm not.
Well, yeah, I
young
get
anymore.
that, but there's so many people. Like, there's so many different people, right? There's like the young guys that think they're doing something revolutionary when they ride to Sturgis. There's the guys that's been doing it since the 60s.
Yeah.
There's guys that's been coming to Sturgis every year and never once rode there.
Yeah.
And they're good with that. And that's kind of like one of those weird things I think that I had to come to terms with as a guy, like as a dude. Like, hey, man, people can do what the fuck they want to do. But there is a difference when, like, you're sitting in a room talking about all your travels and all the things that are kind of more inconveniences, but you're stoked about it. And then you're hanging out with dudes that are like, oh, we trailered, man. Like, we were watching a little Netflix on the fucking
man.
truck.
Yeah.
And, you know?
what Adam just said too, it's so much about the camaraderie and something that you said earlier about that I took it as me, Cody, James, or Kyle, the rest of Jacob. I guess we'll go fuck ourselves because we're not photographers. We can't do trips now.
pretty much.
But
Should have came out and hung out with me on Sunday.
well, it's one of those things where it's it's more about the trip, the journey than it is the final destination, and kind of the same thing about. I know what you're talking about on the trips, and we've had those stops where we go, then 2 miles later we get a better scenic view. Okay, well those never get old. I feel confident speaking for the other 7 dudes on this. Those never get old to us because at the end of the day, when you pull off and if you see that shot that you want to get, you need to get, we're all cool with it because we're hanging out with us. And us hanging out, we could do it 10 times in a row. And there may be a couple of jokes about let's get there, but we enjoy it every fucking time. The stop and the bullshitting. It's just like a gas stop. That's what makes the trip sometimes.
Yeah, it's a sense of adventure. Like we live in a
perfect way to say it.
Like we live in a society to where everything's fucking convenient, and convenience is killer. Yeah. Like I find myself falling into convenience several times to where I got to get the fuck out of Houston, to where I just bolted on a Monday and Tuesday and probably put on 500 or 600 miles, just to be reminded that, hey, these conveniences take me away from this sense of adventure that actually gives me what I want. These conveniences just make my life a little easier, but it doesn't give me that feeling of just. Well, it's like a.
I had a reality one time. One of the first bikes I ever put together was a 79 Ironhead chopper, 12 over Springer, and I was talking with my buddies about riding to Sturgis. This was like in the mid '90s, and I went and talked to this old friend of mine. He's an old guy, and he said when I got out of the Navy, they handed me a check. I went to San Francisco Harley Davidson, and I bought me a Panhead. And he goes, I rode that fucking thing all the way back to Texas. He goes, I didn't think twice about it. And I was like, he goes, you know, and back then they had gas stations that would close at 7 p.m. And if you didn't get there by 7 p.m., you had to park your bike in front of the gas pump and you would sleep. And if you were lucky enough, they'd bring you some food out because they had a little house behind every gas station. He goes, if I can fucking do it on a panhead, you can do it on a fucking ironhead.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I will do this.
You just got called out for it too.
Yeah, dude, man, you talk about, I felt about as low as
Those
you
kind
go.
of guys, man, like I wish that, you know, over the years, people would tell me like, oh, there's this guy in Alabama. He's been doing this forever. It's like you never know who has those like golden stories about that kind of shit, right? But those are the ones I really wish that I could capture on these podcasts sometimes. Like these guys just talking about why they did it in that time. Why did they ride across country in the
messed up part
60s
was
and the 70s and shit?
He said that they offered him a hat and a free leather jacket, and he was like, fuck that gay shit. And he's like, he goes, I was going through the mountains, and he goes, man, I am the biggest dumbass in the world.
I should have taken that leather jacket.
But I mean, how many people, there's not too many people, you got to have a pretty good idea of a panhead to drive across country. You know, it's got a lot of parts that need attention, and he just not a thought in the world, just jumped on it, put gas in it, and was heading home.
What they call it, dumb luck, right? It's kind of one of those deals where, you know, because you're not worrying about it, nothing goes wrong.
This was in the 50s, back when, you know, gas stations were way further apart.
Well, they didn't start making the highway structures until like 55 was when all that shit happened.
So Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower. That shit's fascinating to me. I'm going down YouTube rabbit holes looking for cool shit to stop at on our trip this year, and I'm like, oh shit, Eisenhower's kind of like the OG of the highways. You know what I'm saying? I never knew all that stuff, man. I thought it was pretty badass.
Of stuff out there, tons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling him on the way up here, I was like, we need to get one of those books because I mean, I don't even know how many parks are in Texas where you can just, if you've never been, you can just go and see and camp.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just a spot you've probably never been to before.
Yeah.
So as far as Texas, y'all mentioned earlier, somebody said something about it being Big Bend being one of the, you know, always on the list. There's and they lean towards more of the Hell Yeah Brothers, the Hog Chapter kind of guys. But there's a magazine I subscribe to, Ride Texas, and man, they can't say enough stuff about Big Bend.
It sells itself.
So when you were talking about the groups of older guys being there, that doesn't surprise me. You know,
and they're all, dude, you show up there, there's a gas station, you show up there, like, they're all like, hey, where are you coming from? Like, they instigate conversation.
Yeah,
like,
they're the nicest people ever. They may not have a beer with you at 8:30. They may raise an eyebrow.
But they ain't gonna give a shit.
Yeah, but ultimately they don't care. Those are more the dentist and the lawyer and stuff that do it on the weekends. But they're usually pretty good.
It's an area to where you're left to your own character, and I think there's something special about that. To where like I don't give a shit who you are, what you've done, or what anything. It's an area to where you're described by your own character, and like that's something that is very special, and like that's why I enjoy it, and that's why I get that sense of just fucking peace. And that's why I want to go there every single year. And like both me and Mike want to introduce that to as many people as possible.
Yeah, before it gets overtaken by all the Airbnbs, man, I mean, there's a lot of people building out there too. And we noticed it last time, but the really cool thing is when you see teepees, you can
I love gentrification though.
You can
I really love it.
It's called convenience.
It's like when we were out there, I was like, there's teepees for rent? And they got air-conditioned teepees. Look at me.
It's so much cooler.
Yeah. And there are tons of Airbnbs out there. Like if you've been on Instagram or Pinterest or anything like that, the little fucking huts that are elevated and show the stars.
The bed bubbles too.
That's all. Yeah, the bubble things are all in Terlingua.
You can see these like plastic bubbles up on the on the cliffs, and you're like, what the fuck?
Like I recommend.
And supposedly,
right there.
I saw something on TikTok where there's actually a cave that you can rent now that actually it's all the amenities, like an actual apartment with sliding doors and a balcony and everything.
You got that. There's the Terlingua house, which we stayed in there.
That cave shit right there.
That's some white people shit. I'm gonna rent a cave.
You got that shit available.
And they got hot pockets.
Yeah.
A cave with USB ports.
Shut up and
Like
take
I
my
recommend
money.
to everybody to camp. Like we will have showers available and shit like that. But there are Airbnbs all over this place.
Yeah.
I always tell people to camp because camping, like I've always said this, and if you've been a long time listener, I'm sorry, but hotels are great. They really are. But sometimes a hotel can be the end of the night, right?
Yeah.
When you finally get to the hotel, it's like, I'm going to go ahead and go in the room. Once you go in the room, you're kind of out of it. If If you're like, I think I'm tired, I'm gonna go lay in the tent, and then you hear someone start talking about something, you're like, hold on. Unzip. What really happened was that it's like you get drawn back into the conversation, or you don't want to leave that fire and that that drawn out conversation about life that maybe it's going nowhere, but it feels good to talk about it. It's therapy. I feel like you get that around when you camp.
Yeah.
Like you're for the kind of person that doesn't want the party to end, camping is for that. Mm-hmm. Because how many people come to our camp out and don't go to sleep?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
You wake up and fucking T-Bar Jesus Mark's out there on his 86th bang. You know what I mean? Just fucking like, hey, what's up, man? Great sunrise this morning. You guys missed it.
God, that guy fucking goes. Like,
I do want to issue a challenge to anybody. If your chick's bugging you, if you feel like you have to take your chick, from our buddy, I'm going to steal a page out of his playbook, the Boston Be a Man. Send your chick pictures of the Pinterest and the cave and the teepees. Send her stuff about that to get her to go, and then just make her sleep next to the pirate ship. Not even on it. Be a man. Get her there. When she goes, so where is it? You go, this is it, baby. This is it.
This is it.
Go find some rocks to stake down our tent, by the way.
And you'd be surprised. Like, when we went down there, just kind of scout everything out. I mean, it was nothing but guy and girl couples, like younger people, just seeing the whole area, like shopping and all the little artist shops. I mean, I was very surprised at how young all the tourists were. It's all the Malachi hats or whatever they want.
Yeah, but those are the
Pilgrim hats, right?
Quaker
Yeah,
hats?
Pilgrim,
I call them
yeah.
Quaker hats.
Those are the chicks making those guys go out there because they want the picture in front of the Prada store and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys would rather be home playing
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, wide ass legs.
Conquer of Catan or something like that. They'd rather be home watching Mumford and Sons on
Yeah.
YouTube or something.
That's where I want to be.
Well,
I love that band.
definitely
They're pretty good.
bring a pad. If you have a bed pad.
I thought it was a desert. It's not sand.
Yeah, it's fucking sand and
It's like
rock
a
and
hard,
everything.
bleachy
Like, ain't
rock.
no grass. Like, if you want to sleep on that hard ass shit, then all power to you. You're a badass in my book. But if you got a bedroll, bring a bedroll.
I got a nice little blow up mattress.
There you go. You can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though. Like, they have like the whole passing wind is all gated, so you can kind of control the people coming in and coming out. And it's kind of small. And like right across the street, there's the hotel that has the High Sierra. So I mean, it's not like you're completely out.
Be in the hotel
Yeah.
room, go, what's that thing where he's like, hide your money, there's poor people around or some shit like that.
So the High Sierra is your hotel option. So if you don't want to sleep on the ground, if you don't want to camp, if you don't want to do the Airbnb thing, the High Sierra is literally right across the street. So they do have rooms available. They have showers and stuff like that.
And then also to the south of us is the trailers.
Yes. So there's a new trailer spot. We will be posting up different
It's like old 70s trailers.
retro
like,
rentals.
retro rentals,
Is the trailers that are inside the ghost town. So and then there's a new other trailer spot that has a few availability. So pretty much September we're gonna be kind of putting it out there to be like I'm trying to push more camping to where just there's something about unzipping your tent.
Be a man.
Yeah, and just
Right.
literally you unzip it and then it's just peace. And then you're surrounded by mountains. Like there's nothing. You don't hear cars. There's no billboards. There's no nothing. And then you just walk out of your tent and then it's just pure and utter beauty. But I mean, if you do want to kind of, we'll call it glamping. But if there are Airstream trailers, there's a hotel at the High Sierra that's literally across the street. So those are readily available to you, but it is my strong suggestion to please, if you can, camp and just have that experience for your first time. And then if you want to come for like the later years, then if you want more of a convenience and comfort, then that is available. So, and also, I mean, if you're bringing your girlfriend or wife or whatever, and that's what she wants, there's nothing against it.
What kind of like shops do they have? Because I was just in Estes Park with my wife. We did a little vacation and shit, and we were walking through the downtown area. Really cool vibe, but I was like, I don't like this. Is all stupid. Like it's literally rocks and shitty leather, and like it's like the tourist town downtown trap of like useless shit people sell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Sturgis of basic bitches.
basically.
So you're talking about when it comes to like
so when you go to the town of it, is it full of those like trendy, rock shops selling turquoise and shit like that?
No, that really, if you're looking for like, what
There's nothing wrong with something like at least one of those places selling shit like that, but when it's every other fucking store, it's like a turquoise.
There's nothing that's
there's next to the Starlight Theater. There's a little general like. Sorry, I don't remember the name of it, but if you do want to get Terlingua merchandise, that's going to be at the Starlight next door. And they do have stuff like they have bandanas, T-shirts, and
they got
like,
a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah, if you're looking for stuff to like, to bring from the town, but I also do suggest like any support you can bring to the town, please do. Yeah. Like, I mean, if it's they have really good food right next to the Starlight Theater for the breakfast. What do you say? Is it what kind of food is it?
The taqueria?
Yes. There's
a taqueria. The Starlight has food, and so does the High Sierra.
Yeah.
They do like hamburgers and stuff, but I want to say there's also
Earth and Fire Imports. They definitely sell rocks.
So there is a lot. There is some rocks available, but just keep.
I walked into so many of those fucking places. Like, I guess I need to get a turquoise ring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Go full Rambo on these motherfuckers. You remember he had that little teardrop turquoise necklace?
Oh yeah, they get down. They know what you need in that area. They can probably supply, but it's all locally owned, which is the biggest part. Like we try to suggest like please support the town, because like this is all people that live there, and this is all people that build their life around this area. And so if you want to go and support it, please do. Like there's nothing really commercial about it. There's nothing really anything. All what you're spending on is, people putting food and, taking care of their families.
I know it's probably not there, but part of me is like, it'd be so dope if they had like what was that Quentin Tarantino movie? Dusk Till Dawn?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Teddy Twister.
We were just talking about that a little earlier.
I don't think they can keep it open year round.
Yeah. What was her name?
What was her name?
No, goddamn, I thought it was Penelope, but who was
Penelope?
Penelope? Okay, we were talking about it at the bar.
Selma Hayek.
Yeah. Dude,
that's where Quentin Tarantino got it, because I'm pretty sure he directed a movie for the sole purpose to suck Selma Hayek's toes. And I think that was the purpose between Dusk Till Dawn.
So I'm a total weirdo, and I watched that movie. And if you look, whenever she's dancing, if you look at George Clooney and you look at everybody behind her, because everybody's looking at Selma Hayek, they're like, their eyes are just this big because she's turned around towards the camera, and her ass is just right in their face.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh my God, look at this friggin' woman. And I now every time I watch that movie, I look at Tarantino and look at George Clooney right behind her when she's on the table.
Yeah. And
I just look at their faces, and I'm like, you lucky dogs.
That movie and like what was the Desperado?
Yeah,
I love that movie. All that shit back in the day. I dig this. I think Robert Rodriguez did Desperado.
Dude, there's actually a place up by Estes that is like the Titty Twister that I went to years ago. It's it's right on the Wyoming state line. It's called the Clown's Den.
That sounds awesome.
Dude, like we went to Wyoming, and they had a place called the Green Door, which is half of a liquor store, half of a strip club.
What town was that in?
Cheyenne.
Oh, okay.
So anyways, we were there, and we're like, this place sucks. Like, the women were putting money in the jukebox. There was no DJ, and they looked like burnout meth heads. And we're like, let's bounce this place. And the guy goes, hey, if you really want some fun, go down to the Clown's Den. And I was like, all right. So we looked it up, and we went right across the border back into Colorado. And it's just like the Titty Twister. You come out there, and it's dark, and you see these bright lights, and it said the Clown's Den. And there was hardly any cars.
The Clown's Den.
Yeah. There was hardly any cars out there. We pull up, and there's a guy, and there's cop cars, and they had their lights off. Yeah. And they're hogtied, and they're pulling the guy out in hog ties, And I was like, holy shit. And we walk in there, and there's hardly anybody in there. And she's like, yeah, that guy thought he was going to get some. And I was like, this looks like my kind of place. And, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to incriminate anybody, but it was awesome. It was like, wow.
That was the only reason I brought up Boys Town earlier, because they got Boys Town's wild if you've never been to it.
Where's Boys Town?
Del Rio.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got a very titty twist, but it's the one I've heard about. It's called the Lodge, and it's.
Didn't you tell me like your dad?
Tell us about Take it easy.
I'm piecing these stories back together.
I'm telling you, so the way we do the down south has been, where certain dudes coming from certain areas make that first stop at Floribama.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to make a stop in Del Rio and you go over the border to Ciudad Acuña and there's some wild shit.
What's her name?
Yeah.
That's the town. That's the border town.
Just if you want to fuck around in Del Rio, it's cool. Just know Del Rio's pretty hot right now. So I mean,
Okay, well, this is 20 fucking years ago.
yeah.
If you're going there, you're not looking to be safe.
Okay, cool. You want to, go and fuck around in Del Rio.
All bets are off.
It's not so much me, but I want to hear the stories. I want to hear about the guy that just needed to see that donkey show and then see how that reel plays out.
Hey, everybody,
Fucking
you want to
dream
make
crusher.
memories, man? You make them.
Nice.
I hate donkeys.
No, I don't know. I guess because since I haven't been down there at all, like you start to kind of create like your own narrative of what you think it's going to be like when you get there in the town. And, part of, I think maybe the concept of what I think Marfa is like and what I've seen Marfa to be like, I feel like it's turned all those little desert towns into these trendy, gentrified kind of things. But
So you've been to Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So like before the first time you ever went to Vegas, you thought it would be bigger than it is, right?
man, honestly, I can't remember what I thought. I think
That's the same thing. Like I expected it to be a small town, but it's really smaller
what?
than what you would think it'd be.
I mean, yeah, I guess in my head, I remember the first time I ever went to Vegas was 2011 for SEMA, and it was, I remember watching Hangover on the airplane.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's what they were playing.
No, I just I watched it on my laptop or something. She was like, I'm going to Vegas.
Okay.
Like, I'm watching this.
Right.
And anything that ever revolved around Vegas in a movie or TV show, it always had that perspective of Vegas as being like this small, like condensed little spot in the bottom of the, where everything the drain of the valley. Right. And, but when I went there, of course, it changed my mind. When you're on the new part of the strip, it feels big.
So I flew in the first time I went,
Yeah.
and so at nighttime you could see just the lights of the city.
Yeah.
And I was flying in from like L.A., so I was like, when you leave L.A., it's just like nothing but lights everywhere. So when we flew in over the mountains and we were coming in, and I saw like the landing strip, and I saw like, I was like, oh, that's it. I was like just bummed, and when we got there, I was like, oh, I thought Vegas would be way bigger. But same thing with Terlingua. The first time we went, I was like, oh, wow, we're already in Lajitas?
Yeah.
Like already? Like, there's a golf course. Awesome.
Anytime you come up to like it, I imagine like if you're coming into Terlingua, you're coming up over something, and then you kind of get a perspective of the whole town, like down below, right?
There's like a mountain to the
Yeah.
side where
Yeah.
when you come in, it's like a T. So when you come in, you'll see a gas station, and you'll just hang a right towards Lajitas.
When you come back from like Arizona and you're coming to Las Cruces, it's got that vibe. There's like a big hill that you're coming down on 10, and you're like, well, it's not a big town. Nothing looks big from the air. I mean,
Right.
from like a good perspective, but when you're down there in it, you're like, fuck, man, all this shit. There's a lot of streets and stuff like that.
it's pretty cool. It's like an old western town feel where
It
it's always
is.
windy, dusty,
Yeah.
tumbleweeds, and nobody seems to really give a shit.
No,
That's-
like they
that's the
go,
cool thing.
they follow their own. Like it's very much their own.
Yeah.
Like they have their own vibe that they have down there. It's just like with the goddamn, with Retro Rinse when we were there the first time, that the old dude that owns Retro, we talked to his wife with the feathers,
Yeah,
and
the
then
feathers.
he and the Merc, was it a Mercury that he
Yeah,
showed
he
us?
had like a 50 Mercury, it's repainted, but it was out there, and it was like, yeah, he messed with that car in years, and I was like, that's pretty cool, sitting under a little tarp.
Yeah.
Just sitting there. But they had all these vintage trailers that they had retrofitted to not really live in, but they just had beds and stuff in them. So, I mean, the air conditioning was cold. I can't complain.
Well, he started that fucking Merc for us. Like
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he got that thing going, like in a little garage. Like he started, they were just very, very open.
Yeah.
To where like, and they saw how
So I don't know if
curious
I have
we were.
that kind of patience to care.
It's a different type of care, you know.
Cool,
Like,
dude. Where was the gas station again?
yeah,
Well, we
that-
were looking for, we kind of winged it. So we were out there and we're like, hey, let's just, we were going to sleep anywhere, but we realized there was no place to really just sleep on the ground. So we're like, fuck it, let's just get a room. So that's when we went to Retro Rentals. And,
Yeah.
Ring the bell on the counter, and it was like a house that was converted into an office, and they were super nice. And they're like, yeah, we don't have any guests. Y'all can take y'all's pick. And Adam took the El Presidente suite, and me and Johnny, we took like this little tiny like bean.
It was
that had,
called
like,
The Bachelor.
it literally had 2 beds where you could like reach out and touch fucking hands. It was awesome. But it had air conditioning. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
So Retro Rentals has a bunch of Airstreams that they personally named, and they all have their own story to it. And like if you rent one, they have this like binder that's on the table inside of it that'll basically explain their story. Mine had something to do with an iguana. I don't remember what it was named. There was called The Bachelor, which was it was 2 fucking like just beds right next to each other, but it just both has a story, and it's scattered like around the center of Terlingua. So it's and then basically, so Retro Rentals is kind of more north of the passing wind, and then probably like a quarter mile up the road is going to be the
Graveyard.
the graveyard, and then go to the Starlight
Graveyard's
Theater.
pretty cool too, man. It's like something out of a movie theater where it's like an old Spanish graveyard, but you have to read the sign whenever you come in. And those old graveyards, you have to make an offering. So that means there's a plate over there with like coins and stuff.
Nice.
And there's, I guess they do that old military thing where they put the pennies, the nickels, and the quarters on the headstones if you knew the person or whatever. But they have like a plate where you offer it, and it has like this whole story on why you should do that, and that's something you should pay attention to.
The gravesite stuff was interesting. On the way back from, we did the whole thing where we stopped and saw, I don't know if you weren't on that trip, right? The where we saw the Billy the Kid grave. That was
the
the
one
first
with the cage
trip.
around it.
Yeah. But our buddy Jacob was like, dude, we're not far from this was on the first trip. He's like, we're not far from the Billy the Kid grave, and I was like, literally in my head, like, oh, here we go. This is bullshit. I don't give a fuck about a goddamn gravesite. And then as we were walking up to it, like something in the air, something like took over me, and it was like, oh, this is cool. And then you see like the whiskey bottles and the coins and the bullets and all this shit that is recent in 2019, essentially, on someone that, allegedly was killed a long time ago, depending on which folklore you believe.
Well, apparently there's still people being buried out in Terlingua, the graveyard.
For real?
Yeah, there's headstones that say like 2018, lifelong residence. They just they had to go out there with saws and cut that because it's like limestone. But in Sanderson, they have something kind of like the Billy the Kid thing, where it's the judge Roy L. Bean.
Yeah.
And he was like the hanging judge. So like they had like this big old museum out there right by the Pecos, and he was like the law of the land back then, and they called him the hanging judge. But there's like this big old thing to him out there. It's kind of like the same thing. You know?
Yeah.
But he's like a Western artifact too. So
There was
definitely
there's a roller coaster at Six Flags called the Judge Roy Bean.
yeah.
I thought it was the Judge Roy Scream.
Okay, that's probably what it is.
If you're ever bored,
Probably a montage to him though.
look up the history of Judge Roy Bean.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
Like,
What era is he?
I want to say
18?
1880s, after the Civil War.
So after like all the Texas Ranger
and
shit.
he was like the judge of the whole West Texas area.
Yeah.
And like they said, they called him the hanging judge. So he was pretty ruthless.
Look up
He had to be.
the legit history, and then the fact that they got a Six
They made a
Flags
movie
ride
about him.
named after this guy.
I think Steve McQueen was in it, to be honest.
God damn.
Yeah.
It's like the Great Value Texas Giant. If you're scared to go on the Texas Giant, go on the Judge
Dude.
Roy Scream.
I did that. I don't like roller coasters, dude.
I used to go, you know what? I heard the Giant sucks. This one's better.
It's a big white one where you roll in.
Yeah. So there's tons of stuff. Like, it's very, like, I'm going to try hard to introduce, like, a lot of stuff in September. If you can please follow, it's FXRS of HTX. It's, we're going to try and post as much information. We're gonna put some stuff that you guys can do, but I strongly recommend to just kind of make your own adventure, to where we're gonna give you some things to where, like, hey, these are things you can do. Yeah, like, this is stuff that's available around, and then just kind of pick and choose. Like, if something interests you, go explore it.
What I thought was really cool, what the guys at Texas Hills have been doing on this recent reboot of that show, is they were like putting out these posts talking about like the Texas oldest bar that's not too far from there, and all these different places. And as you're trying to plan your trip, like you were saying, it gives you like all these little things. Oh, that's interesting. I want to check that out. It doesn't have to be in Terlingua. It could be all these surrounding towns that could be a draw to someone like planning their trip to go check out those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's like our main thing. We just want, like, you know, you don't have to participate in anything. Just come say hi, hang out for a little bit, and say, I saw y'all stuff. Just wanted to come hang out and meet some other people, and that's all we really want. I mean, all the other stuff's just extra, you know, like the rides or whatever. You ain't got to hang out. I mean, we can be rowdy, we can be not be rowdy, you know. It's you got to feel your vibe out, but it's all just like a mixer.
Yeah, like literally the only thing you have to prove is just to make it. Yeah. Like if you're there, you're there. That's it. Everything's good. Like all the Terlingua merchandise is only for participants. Like we're not giving any run to Terlingua. Like we got some special stuff for this year. But the only way to get it is if you show up to Terlingua. Like we're not giving it to anybody that is not participants to the run to Terlingua. Like we want to keep it that way, and that's how it's going to remain. Like last year, we had T-shirts, patches, and like these the 5x7s. Yeah. So but that was only towards participants.
Like a postcard kind of thing.
Yeah,
We try to do like a gift bag, put everything involved, and just make something very exclusive. You know, where if you've been to Terlingua on the run and you see someone else with like a different year patch, you know for a fact those people actually made the effort to get down there. And you know, it's kind of like a camaraderie kind of deal. And years ago, we used to do this thing with Tyler doing the poncho run, and we did the same thing. That's where I drew a lot of the inspiration from. I just wanted to give him props because one of the guys from the poncho run actually showed up and said, "Hey, I saw the stuff and I knew somebody had pulled some stuff from the poncho run, and I just wanted to see who it was." And I was like, "It's me, man." And he goes, "Man, it's so good to see you." And it's like, I don't know if you've ever heard about the poncho run.
I haven't. What's that?
Well, years ago, like 2010, 2009, 10, and 11, this guy named Tyler put on a poncho run, which was, we changed the route every year, and it was ride, party, camp.
Yeah.
There was no, I mean, and all the new guys had to wear white Dickies pants, and we wore the same clothes. So, like, all the new guys wore white pants, and we'd do pudding wrestling and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we ended up in Trinity, Texas, where they did grandmas were pudding wrestling their grandsons at this bar, and, I mean, just covered in filth. And it was
Whoa. Grandmas were wrestling grandsons.
Trinity, man. Trinity. So, anyways,
that's what caught your attention?
So, it was nuts. I did not know about this, but...
Siri, clear my schedule for whatever the fuck that is.
So, it was wild, man. I mean, we would literally ride. We would ride basically like 1,000, maybe 1,200 miles on back roads of Texas, and it would change every year, the route we would take. And it was literally like just ride, party, and camp. And, man, it was some of the best times I've ever had, and met some of the best people. And that's all it was just riding and partying. We would literally sleep on picnic tables under pavilions in state parks, and it was pouring down rain. We're like, the park rangers would come out there and kick us out. And, you know, that's pretty miserable whenever it's just pouring rain. You have to go out there and start your bike and then leave in the pouring rain, go get breakfast. And it's like, all right, we'll write you a ticket or you got to get the hell out of here. But, man, that right there was the inspiration, a lot of the inspiration that I brought to Adam about the Terlingua thing. I wanted to make it very exclusive.
Yeah.
I wanted, like, a lot of camaraderie because, man, I'm telling you, like, even today, like, everybody that we did those runs with, like, we have, like, this bond. Everybody went through it from day one, and at the end of the time, like, we'd have a party at the very end, and, like, it was like a big celebration. Everybody be just dirty, stinky.
I like the whole idea of, like, doing the white shit, so it's like you're wearing all these white Dickies, so, like, you're going to get fucking dirty.
Oh, man, those pants, like, one of the guys, on the last day, he took his pants off and threw them up in our buddy's rafter or his hot rod garage. And then the next year, he came back, he said, "Those are my pants." And home dude was like, "Hey, why don't you get those stinky fuckers down?" And he went up there, and they were literally stuck together. They said they were hard as a board. He couldn't get them apart. So he just left them up there. But they were, like, tan. I mean, he would stop at a stoplight, and there's flies buzzing around his legs. That's how nasty they were.
Jesus
I mean, these are
Christ.
all old choppers, too, shovel heads.
Yeah, but I think what's cool about that, and maybe let me ask you guys this, because it sounds like this event, I mean, obviously you want more people to come to it because you want people to experience this, right? Mm-hmm. But the attendance is what it is once you're there. Like, hey, look, we got 20 people here, we got 40, we got 100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is what it is. This is, you know, like, because I get a lot of people reach out to me about events, wanting to do things, right? And that poncho run sounds like some shit that I wish somebody, like, I know you guys are doing it, but that's the kind of shit that sounds fun to me. Like, it's not another camp out.
Yeah.
It's not another this and not another that. It's like, that's dope. I like that shit. I think that, like, you find real value in going to do these things like this, and it doesn't matter if there's 100 people or not.
No.
It's like, oh, dude, it was 30 of us. It was a wild night. We did this. We were, I just looked up Trinity, Texas a while ago. I was like, I didn't even know that fucking existed. And
It's wild.
Yeah.
There's people out there fucking in the sticker bushes, and we fucking took pictures, and we were like, oh, we can't show those to anybody. They were out there all covered in blood, just getting down. But man, it was the best of times, and that's when I brought that experience, and I wanted to bring just a little bit of that whenever me and Adam were planning this, and I know those times have come and gone, kind of. I mean, you could probably recreate it if you wanted to, but you can't get those group of guys. And all those guys are still riding. I still see them around, and it's like, there's
That's
an
what's cool,
unspoken,
though.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a bond.
You're cultivating the next generation of that shit because
Yeah.
just like you said, first on one hand you said it was exclusive, but then you also said it was like a mixer. Well, it's a mixer if you're willing to sack the fuck up more than many more people are. And what 700 miles, it's a
you gotta work
it's a
to
mixer,
get here.
but it's one that you fucking earn more than anything.
Exactly.
Those hard days make for some of the best fucking parties.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
we went
that's-
to some of the craziest spots. I don't know how these guys found it, but there was a water park out in the middle of East Texas. We went down a dirt road for like 20 miles on fucking old rigid choppers and stuff, and we get to this fucking water park, and it's a big one, like Waterworld. And we get there, and they're like, all right, we're about to close, and they kept it open. And then we basically pawned up money, and they ordered like 14, 15 pizzas, and we were out there like butt-ass naked going down these slides, and because the whole park was closed. So they were like, y'all do whatever. And then they're like, hey, you guys got to put some clothes on. But we were trying to wash our shit, and it was like, it was awesome. But it was like out in the middle of nowhere. It was like, what the? It was out by Newton. I mean, we started like in Richmond area, and we went north. We went all back roads. We never hit the main road at all.
Nice.
And I mean, there was
A lot of that part of the country, too, I haven't explored. Jaden's from kind of like, what was the town you were originally from, the high school, or early on? Not Rockwall, but like when you were down.
Oh, like Cayuga, like around Palestine, Tennessee Colony.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
like East
I've never
Texas.
really, I went to Lufkin once to see an FXR I was thinking about buying.
Like
That's
East Texas, right by the Sabine River, man. It's like super thick woods, and there's just so much stuff going on out there that nobody knows about unless they live there. And man, it was awesome. Like I said, going down that dirt road, there was a dude that had a Sportster with dirt bike tires on it, and he was trying to go down that dirt road, and it was just all over the place. This fishtailing all in front of me, and finally we pull in, and he's like, I can't stop, and like washed it out. And I mean, everything. It was awesome, man. It was like everybody was so tired, but it was just the best time ever.
Yeah.
And Tyler would give us all these stickers, and we'd go around, and girls had to show her tits, and we'd put the sticker on.
So,
take
yeah, we
pictures.
can't do that anymore. Fucking weird.
But the fuck we can't. Like I said, that's the keeping it going.
Yeah.
That's
I wish we could keep that going,
And
but
if nothing else, what California, they're not selling gasoline.
after 35.
Yeah, 30. Like we've talked about it before. They're gonna sooner or later they're gonna price us out. They're gonna tax us to death, whatever. So if
Yeah,
we
there-
are gonna
no
more
more-
some of the ones going down with the ship. Dude, bring some of that stuff back. I'm Mr. Nice Guy, but every now and then I've also been known to say, you know what? Make Harley Davidson's kind of tough again. Tell a guy to go fuck himself sometimes. Like, don't be a dick about it, but if he deserves it, tell a guy to go fuck himself. Like, bring back a little bit of that. And the shit you're talking about, that kind of stuff, that's the stuff I live for. Like, that's the stuff I want more fucking of.
Dude, we someone Triumph had never made it, right? And they'd always broken down. Well, finally, like one of the guys had ridden a Triumph, and it was like a stock, like Bonneville, and his oil plug on his fucking primary had came out, and they sat there on the side of the road, and they found a broomstick, and they whittled out a fucking piece, and they actually made threads on it with a knife, and they screwed it in there, and that fucking Triumph made it. Like I was like a 750 Bonneville or something. But I remember sitting there, I was like, what are we doing? They found a stick, and they fucking whittled out a plug and put it in the fucking primary to keep the oil from.
They don't make men like that anymore, man.
They fucking should.
It's like John Wayne stuff.
damn.
It's like John Wayne's California.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to fucking do.
It was a better
you know?
day.
Only thing that sucks is every time we had a gas stop, there was like 20 or 30 guys, and everybody grabbed a beer. So you know what happens at a gas stop. And you know, choppers, we're stopping every 80, 60 miles. So the fucking we were having more
Motherfuckers are
members
drunk.
than miles. And then he's 110 miles an hour to the next fucking place. But
Yeah.
man, it was awesome, man.
That's awesome. So, are you from? how many of those type of things did you do like that were like that? Not just the poncho run, but sounds like there was all kinds of shit like this.
Well, Tyler put that together, but before that, like I was like fucking one of those dumbass people that like just hopped on a motorcycle and said, "Hey, I'm gonna fucking ride to Alaska," and I fucking did it, and I was totally unprepared, and I was working offshore, so I had like a 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off, so I just saved up a bunch of money, fucking bought a motorcycle, and fucking rode from Texas to Alaska, and on the way back, I stopped at Salt Lake City, rode with like 100 hog members. I was starting to run out of money. And those people fucking took a collection to get me money to get me fucking home, but they also took me to every hog stop on the way to Sturgis. And I ate fucking double fucking hamburgers the whole fucking way there. And they're like, he's with us. And these are all Europeans that rented Harleys in San Francisco. And I was just riding with them. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And at the end, they took together and got me a bunch of money and got me some gas money. And I made it all the way fucking home. But I was gone for like 3.5 fucking weeks.
Wow.
Man, I went all the way to Juneau, Alaska. That's back when you could cross with just a Texas ID.
Yeah.
But now you have to have a passport and all that shit. But I went to Juneau and it was starting to get cold. And the guy told me, he goes, "Are you going any further?" And I said, "I'm thinking about it." And he goes, "Don't."
Don't do it, dude.
And I was like,
Nah.
I'd already been riding in rain and cold weather for a minute. And I was like, I didn't have no rain gear. It was like long sleeve t-shirt was all I had.
How far is Juneau? Is that how far you went?
Yeah.
Like Juneau, Alaska?
Yeah.
God damn.
So through
That's
Canada.
insane, Mike. We may have to run this back like a.
Well, like that took off, and I bought a bike untested and just fucking rode it.
What was the bike?
It was a 91 FXR.
Fuck you.
Fuck that.
It was completely stock. It had
That's why I made it.
mini apes on it.
We fucking with our FXRs and we're bitching that they break.
I said I was early 20s, man. Like I didn't have no care in the world. I didn't have a backup plan. I said, fuck it. I had no cell phone. Fuck it. My grandparents were like, "Oh, we thought you died."
Like we gave your inheritance away.
Yeah.
Basically, they're like, "You
did this in the 90s?
Yeah, like
97."
Oh, you're up there with Alexander Supertramp.
Yeah, I was like, I want to say it was 96, 97. So it was right after
that from? Yeah.
But man, it was sick, dude. Like I got up there and I stopped at this cafe and ate.
Did you go through like Banff and all that shit?
Huh?
Did you go through Banff or any of that stuff?
I went through Washington. I went straight up Seattle, all through there, and I just rode the coastline and through Canada. And I said, right when you come into Juneau, man, it was like a little fishing town. And like I was telling him, I was like, "Man, I want to go to Anchorage." And the guy was like, "Man," he goes, "You realize it's about 150 miles between gas stops?" And he goes, "This time of the year, it was like, it was end of July." And he goes, "That's when the bears start coming out, or breeding or something. And so they'll be all over the." And then he told me like you're gonna be in a spot, dude, gas wise. And if you break down, you're screwed. And I was like, I'd already been like 3,000 miles at that point because I came the dumb way. I came I-10 all the way over to LA and went straight up.
Yeah.
And then I went to Juneau. When I came down, I went to San Fran, cut over to Salt Lake, and then I went to Sturgis, and then Sturgis home.
Nice.
But man, like I said, when I hooked up those hog people, they took care of me. All those crazy ass European women rubbed my belly, licked my neck, did whatever, and it was a good time.
like all of them, they just started licking your neck.
They're
That was
swingers,
just,
bro.
okay, yeah.
They
I'd
all
like
of
to
them
let
had
you know,
leather,
Mike,
so
these
much
women like to
leather.
lick your neck.
So much leather.
You remember we stayed at San Juan and there was like that European couple there? They put off that vibe like, hey, look, you can fuck her too.
Dude, I want to say there was at least 70 or 80 people that were from like Germany, Switzerland, and they're all international hog riders.
Yeah.
And they all rented bikes in the California area. Were riding 80 over to Sturgis.
Yeah.
And it was like this pack, it's pretty long straight road. And I was just riding when they were doing they go from 100 miles an hour down to 60 miles an hour. But I mean, every time we stopped, it was a party, dude. Everybody had such a good vibe.
Dude,
and I was
you
like,
got the
fuck
party
yeah,
with
I'm
the
joining the
hog
hog club, man.
Dude.
I'm in the hog club. Give me a patch.
Yeah. Europeans are wild. They will.
But man, dude, those old European ladies, man, they wanted my little 22-year-old ass.
Oh, dude.
I feel like this is the most hyped the Hog Club chapter has ever been hyped.
Dude, man, after that happened, I have nothing but handshakes and smiles for those people. They took care of me, dude.
Like, I feel like there's some people that are about to sign up for the local Hog chapter to
Fucking do it.
seem like similar experiences.
You should sign up for a hog membership if nothing else, because when you go to Milwaukee, if you have it, I think you get free entrance into the museum.
Dude, every dealership that was along the way to Sturgis was putting on a hog thing. That's where they were doing the cookouts, free beer, free food.
Yeah. It has its benefits. If you're ever on the road, something happens, they'll
Big
get
time.
you, a little bit A little bit quicker than if you were just go, hey, I'm not a member, but I'm trying to get in and out. I'm on the road. Like they usually try to work with you, especially if it's a good dealership. But the hog thing kind of bumps you to the front of that list, and I don't know. I've got some stupid part of me that I'm like, yeah, I kind of support it, but I can only imagine the Europeans that come over here and they're riding. That's probably like that's almost like a souvenir. Like I go home, hey, I got you a hoodie. They go home and he's like, "Hey, remember when I let you fuck that American in Utah? like, that's a gift. Like,
there's nothing hotter than an older lady with an accent.
Dude, Europeans are crazy.
Holy shit, man!
I feel like Europeans say the same shit about us, though. You know, like they probably think Americans are fucking batshit crazy. Like, there's a difference between crazy and batshit crazy. I feel like we kind of fulfill that role.
I'm thinking of Super Troopers right now.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm bringing back flashbacks. I'm like, man, that was such a good time.
Yeah,
Such a good time.
Yeah, that fucking hog chapter.
San Juan, there was who's gonna make a move? None of us did, but I feel like if somebody would have, it was over. Like that was.
He goes home and tells his buddy, "An American fucked my wife
on a Harley Davidson."
Yes, she's
real Marlboro old man. Harley
I like
Davidson.
how we immediately go Italian.
he
Like,
went straight to-
American fucked my wife.
He went straight to Borat. He went straight to Borat.
God damn.
It's either a retarded Italian or just Borat.
Yeah.
Rode a motorcycle.
Oh man.
Awesome.
That
Yeah.
sounds cool, man. Like that's I guess when you're lucky enough, and I haven't had a wild story like that, but I feel like I've had my share of unique stories where it's like, I can't believe I just went through that, I just did that, I experienced that shit. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that's a type of wanderlust when you're chasing that kind of vibe forever. You know what I
They
mean?
used to have this one in northern Mississippi called South of Sturgis, and that was the most fucking craziest. Like, there was naked people like riding motorcycles like right when you pulled up, and we did that one. And I can't remember the name of the town. I don't want to say the town was called Sturgis, but man, it was awesome. Like, it was such hedonistic impromptu stripper poles. And
So rock rally.
it was kind of like that, but it had that old school vibe where there was no RVs, there was no golf carts.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, you sleep where you fall.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like this old, weird mining looking town, like right when you pulled in, like wooden shacks and stuff that were dilapidated, but it was like this park. And man, they had like a Ted Nugent fucking cover band there. But it was like South of Sturgis. That's what it was called.
Stranglehold again.
Yeah.
Over
Run it
and
back.
over.
It was that, man. The guys with the big sideburns and the mullets and stuff, and it was like the old school trashy biker fucking events that I love.
When I was a kid in the 80s, like, my stepdad was in club stuff, and I remember going to field parties.
Yes.
We had a band. I remember it's a funny ass story, and I feel like I'm sure it's different as what happened, but I just remember like getting there, and there was another group of boys like my age, 6, 7 years old, and they had an Easy Rider, and all of them had their dicks out. And they were touching their dicks on the titties.
What the fuck?
And they're like, "Yo, man, you got to do this." So pull my dick out. And it was just like this, like, we're all under 10 years old
So you're dick stamping titties.
in an Easy Rider magazine
All
at a
right.
field party behind a van while our parents got drunk and probably did all kinds of drugs on the
So
other
your
side.
parents are drunk, and you're dick stamping titties in the Easy Rider magazine.
For some reason, I remember that because I was like, what?
It sounds like that would make sense. Like, it kind of like, I'm like, all right, yeah.
But it's the 80s. Like, you got to understand, like, there is no internet. There's no, like, there's no concept of normalcy. It's just like, if you grew up around that, like, biker shit, all this stuff, then, like, and you come out of your room every day and there's Easy Riders and Playboys and fucking Hustler, like, it's like, that was a normal thing. And then there's also, you go look around, your mom's tits are out. You know what I'm saying? I don't think mine never did. I'm sure they did, but I didn't see it. But it's like, that was, I grew up in that. And because my family was my mom and my stepdad were into the bikes, but he was also into old hot rods. And we did the whole street racing thing in Dallas back in the day. And it was just always around that world. And we used to have these wrestlers that lived in town called the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
Remember them?
Mm-hmm.
And they would always be out at these events. Like they were kind of like the redneck party dudes that were also like semi-famous wrestlers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was too young to know them or meet them or say like, oh yeah, it's my buddy. But I just remember hearing that all the time. And my dad's like, oh, fucking what's the name of Von Erich? I'm going to whoop his ass next time I see him. He's trying to fucking do like, I'm like, I don't know, just real fragmented pieces of information that I don't really remember the whole stories, but I just remember a tidbit of this, a tidbit of that, of just that world back in the day, you know?
Yeah, that was a different time. I remember like some of the biker parties and stuff that my elders used to take me to, and it's like leave me there, and like I wake up, I'm like, where are they at? And they're like, they left, but we'll give you a ride home.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I
like
remember
to
at
call
one of
it
these
a
parties.
simpler time.
I remember we were at Lake Levon, and we went to one of these parties. There was a bike thing there, and I remember sleeping in somebody's van. I have no idea who it is, but I just remember waking up at that part of the morning when it's freezing.
Yeah.
And I was under a bath towel, and I'm just freezing my ass off. I'm like, somebody take care of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fucking child, and I'm freezing. I'm cold, and I don't know where my mom is or my stepdad or whatever.
I just remember like there was tons of food.
Yeah.
They would bring like, you would have brisket, sausage, hamburgers, whatever you wanted, and there was all the fixins, which is potato salad, macaroni and cheese, and I would just gorge myself as a like 8-9-year-old or whatever. I just eat so much, and I just go pass out somewhere, and then, like I said, I wake up, and the people that brought me weren't there anymore, and they're like, we know where you live, we kind of know your uncle or your dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I would show up and then
roll you and kick you out of the car.
No. They pull up and they drop you off, and then it's like, is the door locked? And, oh, I know where this window's open.
Yeah.
And then you'd be sitting there waiting, and like, the fucking asshole would show up and be like, oh, you made it home, huh? You got good survival skills.
I know I'm raising you right.
Yeah. Good job.
Well, I feel like that was also like the. I feel like maybe it was things were just so much more communal back then,
Big time.
right? So it was almost like, homegirl, Rebecca, she's gonna go, she's fucked up right now, but I'll take care of you. Don't worry. You know what I mean? Like there was this, everybody was cool with like you letting people go get the fuck out of their skin and experiment and do all this crazy shit. And then someone else would take care of the kids, and I don't know. I just remember growing up in that world, like
That was like the cocaine years, though.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot
It
of
took a
people
village.
shooted.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've always said on the podcast, I remember my stepdad was a willing and dealing kind of guy, and he would like trade a CD deck player out of a car for a motorcycle. Like that's how valuable that shit was back in the day. It's like
I just remember going to the swap meets and being able to buy a whole fucking motorcycle in pieces for $200. Yeah. And I was like, man, like those like the stuff that kills me now. It's like you could actually do that crazy shit back then. Like you could literally have 90% of a motorcycle may have title, may not, but $200.
Yeah.
And you can go home and put together something. And
Yeah,
that's
but
how I
even-
did my Ironhead.
even then, back in the day, like like credit scores and all that shit really didn't come into play till late '80s, I believe.
Not even
Maybe
that.
90s?
They became relevant whenever, like, I would say I was already in my 20s, so that'd be like the early 2000s, like right around there.
Yeah. Credit
Like,
score, man. Like
yeah.
something that I was born in '82, so credit score has been the thing in my life that's like
Yeah.
controlled it, right?
It's so gnarly too. If you ever like really like looked into how all that stuff's done, it's like it
Yeah.
blows your mind. Like this is a full-time job trying to build your credit. Like,
Yeah.
There's so many different aspects to it, and it's like I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, also do not get stuck in that rabbit hole to figure out why the fuck credit history exists, because god damn.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate now that I've got my shit. My shit's like I'm proud of it because it's been something in my life
Yeah, it's a
that
lot
I
of
haven't
work.
had. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when credit became a thing. I remember my mom got a credit card to this thing called Finger Hut.
Oh yeah. The furniture.
Yeah, they had everything. It was like a Walmart in a magazine, dude. And you just finance it. It's like I want this, and this. Like, and it's $30 a month, whatever. It's like I was getting shoes growing up and fucking everything, like big screen TV in the house,
Damn,
PlayStation.
Did you open your own?
No, I think it was in my name. That's where my credit was fucked up. When I did have a talk with my mom
Oh.
at 18. I was like, why do I have an electricity bill in my name? Like
Oh,
that y'all didn't pay?
It happens.
She's like, oh.
You know, yeah, I think you live and you learn.
I just remember the Sears catalogs and shit, man, and like the finger hut thing.
Oh,
like,
J.C. Penney.
My great grandmother was like a big finger hut person, and like
Yeah.
I'd go through and she's like, just pick out anything, and I was like, oh man, that Voltron, that real size Voltron toy that's like $200 fucking dollars. That looks pretty cool. And my grandfather's just looking at me like, don't you? You're gonna fucking take all her money like that? And
Yeah,
like,
like a $200 toy back in the 90s
That's
was
like
like
when Nintendo was just the first one was
Yeah.
coming out, and I was like, oh, Nintendo's like $700 or Voltron for $300. I was like, I'll be nice. I want the Voltron.
What the fuck? Voltron is $300.
The big one. The big one that opened up and had all the shit inside.
He moves like this. He has no
Yeah.
movement. Like you can't use him as an action
And it
figure
has,
at all.
it has. It
Like
was
you're a
battery
bad
powered.
motherfucker with a fucking 3-foot Voltron sitting in your room.
Hey, you don't have to tell me twice, motherfucker. Anyways, no, so it made this noise. And you ever open the rear door on a school bus, like when it's moving, and it goes, bah, bah, bah. So it made that noise, and I had it in my backpack, and that fucking noise wouldn't go off.
You put them in your backpack.
Take this motherfucker to school.
Dude, the bus driver wrecked the bus, thinking some kids were jumping out the back. I'm not shitting you. He went into the ditch, and that whole thing was, and like it was a big deal. And they were like, he goes, I heard the door alarm going off, and I thought there was kids coming out the back. And I was sitting there like with my backpack on, and it was I could feel the batteries were dying. And then just when I thought I was gonna clear, that fucker goes off again. Burr, 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 and everybody looked, and I was like, I don't remember how old I was, but I got in trouble, and they said,
Yeah.
I couldn't
In
ride the bus
conclusion, you got the
anymore.
money's worth of that 3-foot
Yeah,
Voltron.
it was like one of the ones where the legs and all that shit fold up, so it would like fold up and fit in there. I was like,
Yeah.
now I look back and go, why the fuck was I
There's a
taking out to
possibility you
school?
caused multiple traffic accidents.
It was on a dirt road.
Oh, yeah.
Should have taken Grandma to the bank and just got the Nintendo.
Man, I felt so bad.
Right.
That guy, man, he was an old dude, and he wrecked the fucking bus. And
Yeah.
It was a big deal, and I was like, it's all my fault.
He had probably been touching kids for years. He had it coming.
Exactly.
He didn't touch me.
Not yet.
I just want to make you guys know he did not touch me.
Yeah. He was a nice guy, man. He was like an old dude who's retired, and like he wrecked the fucking bus because he thought shit was going wrong.
Nice.
Because the motherfucking Voltron was sitting in the back of it.
It was just different. I mean, I feel like it's so wild how much, like, we just talking about the 80s a little bit just now, about how weird that was, and then the 90s, and when credit came to be a thing that people were using, and then 2000s, and how that was like every 10 years of our my almost 40-year existence now has been, every 10 years is almost like a completely different thing of the prior. You know what I'm saying?
Like, so I'm 46 this year, so like I was like into punk rock and all that stuff, and just going to shows, and stuff like that. Like you totally see it, like my grandfather used to always say, you know, if you used to own a Harley, you were a piece of shit. Now if you don't own one, you're a piece of shit. And he's like, that shows you right then and there. That's where things have gotten, you know, because I would listen to his stories about all that stuff, you know, and it was like the perception of that whole thing has changed. And it's like me, like, I don't know if this has happened to you, but all the stuff you pushed away, like your parents represented as a child, I'm rebelling against it. And now, like, as you get older, you kind of start embracing it, like all the old honky-tonk music and all the stuff that brings back the good memories of, like, when you were a kid. Like, now I embrace that stuff. Like, all the Gillies.
I feel like it reminds me of a simpler time where...
Big time.
And that music or that vibe just made sense for that life at that time.
Especially, like, now, like, every time someone puts one of those fucking trap songs on, I'm like, it sounds the same as the last one. You know, like... Chicks are like dancing to that Cardi B, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is.
Like, you're talking to the guy that's about to go work at a bar that plays mostly hip hop music all night.
God bless you.
I'm ready to make out with a shotgun most days when I get done.
Make out with a shotgun.
It's definitely a
I'm
weird
definitely
thing.
reminiscent though. Like I miss it, and like especially with the shows and stuff I was talking about. I feel bad for a lot of those people. They didn't get to experience the danger that like in Houston, man, it was a wild fucking place, dude. And like I was talking to a lot of my old buddies and stuff, and man, we used to fight a lot. We used to have to get into fights with people that we didn't have to get into fights with, and it was fighting for our lives because I mean we were like skateboarders.
There's some
and
regular
shit.
warriors, huh?
We were skateboarders, and we just skate in a parking lot, and you know cowboys and shit would show up and be like, "Hey, we're just here to fuck you up."
I was literally having this conversation at Bike Night last night because they were talking about the stockyards, and I was like, "Look, I get along with everybody but cowboys."
Yeah.
Because those motherfuckers like to fight.
They like to fight, and everything you do is disrespectful to them.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just in line, dude, for a beer, and I disrespected you. Like,
Oh shit! You got your baseball hat turned on backwards, motherfucker. We don't
Yeah.
play that around here.
And so-
in Oklahoma, good God, man.
yeah. So I mean, I grew up kind of in the city, but I didn't really deal with that much. But as I got older, and I would go out to bars and things like that, yeah, it's always this fucking redneck ass cowboy that just, you know what I mean?
Well, it's just that
That's
mentality.
only
Like I said,
proof.
we would be skateboarding in a parking
And that's the thing.
lot.
That's a lot of it too, because in like 97, 8, 9, I skated a lot
Yeah.
too. And some of the kids that I skated with were a little bit younger than me, and they were still in, actually it was like 2000, 2001. I had just graduated, but I had a group of homies that were still in high school that, like, I had the car, I got us the skate parts. And every once in a while, like, they'll be like, yo, I gotta go meet this guy in this development. He's a fucking redneck dude. He's talking shit to me because I dress like this. And so we just all would go out there, you know, and I realized then, it's like, man, like, they wore tighter jeans, but they both did. It made no sense. It's like the punk rock kid had tight jeans on, and so did the fucking cowboy. But it just didn't. They just beefed, and I never really. That was the one demographic that I always had a hard time getting along with growing up.
The thing we had was like in the early '90s when like I was having the skateboarding and stuff. It was like we were looked at as like an outcast. So like at our high school, there was all these cowboys that just got their driver's license, so they'd have all these big jacked up trucks. They'd drive their daddy's trucks. But we'd be out in the middle of nowhere, like at a HEB or something like that. They'd skate in the parking lot while it's closed, and they would show up and just circle the wagons. And we're like, man, it's time to go to work. Yeah. And it happened every time. That's why we started going to skate parks and stuff, just to get away from it. Because a few times, man, we were so fucking outnumbered, and we got our shit fucking handed to us. And we got that attitude, like, we're not putting up with this fucking shit no more. Like, so,
Weird icon.
nailed it. But no, and it's
Get that
fucked up.
Mike Vallely attitude.
Yeah,
That
Well, I'm saying
motherfucker,
is
man.
It creates a character identity where you're like, now, like, when someone starts fucking with you, you just have no patience for it. You're like, all right, let's get this over with. Like, it hardens you.
But do you think that also, like, pushed you into the choppers, into that whole world of, like,
I think, yes.
It's what taught us to
your
handle
outcasts,
ourselves there.
your outcast, all these outcasted societies felt like home to you through the skateboarding, and that's
Definitely.
kind of the connection of skateboarders.
Big time, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of my friends who were skateboarders, punk rock guys, they're all into bikes, cars, whatever, and they all have, like, that thing. And it's like, I know it's real cliche or whatever, and it is what it is.
But it's funny how they're all turning into cowboys now.
It's different. Like it's
women love to dance, man. Women love to dance.
Yeah, like skateboarding to me taught me what passion was. Like I started skating when I was 11 years old, you know, and that was just I skated in Southern Illinois to where there wasn't jack shit out there, and like that just it taught me how to protect something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
And then you can evolve from that to motorcycles or whatever the fuck. But
It was a gateway
skateboarding,
drug for me, man. Like
Yeah.
punk rock, skateboarding, heavy metal, all that stuff, and like especially with my dad and my uncles all into motorcycles. Like I was doomed from the start, but I love it. I love it.
Like fucking punk rock
I couldn't think
music.
of any other way. Like this is me. This is how I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I stopped caring. It's like now it's like, man, I don't have time to argue. Just fight me.
yeah. Like I got my first fucking fight in a
Like
quarry.
people talk shit about tattoos and stuff. And like I had a kid come up to me like a early 20-something. He's like, hey man, what's up with that tattoo? And I was like, man, if you want to fucking know, let's go outside and I'll show it to you closer. And he's like, well, I don't even know what that means. And I'm like, I have no patience for it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, whatever. Let's do it.
Yeah.
It
I just want
attracts
to be
a
cool. I
person.
want to have good times, man. But you're always going to run into those people, and I have no patience for it. I'm not going to argue with you. You're not paying me anything to argue with you. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like this, the whole like people's feelings getting hurt and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm not about that. Like, fuck it, whatever. Like,
Motherfuckers are soft out there.
it,
The funniest thing is like all the softest motherfuckers I feel like I meet are also like hard in real life, but their feelings are soft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, thin skin.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's a weird one because this, you know, I don't really say hell yeah, brother anymore because of how many people I think started taking offense to it.
Yeah.
Not offense like they're gonna go slit their wrist, like just like, oh man, like I guess I'm a hell yeah brother. I can't hang out with these guys. I don't want to exclude them and shit like
Right.
that. But you know, it's I don't know, man. It's the sensitivity in things. This is, let me preface this. I would say the motorcycle industry has never been big enough for criticism to be something more than someone talking shit about you. Like criticism.
Yeah.
You know, as an artist, I've had to grow up with criticism my entire life. Like, it's okay. You could be better. Or people say things like, "Hey, you've come a long way." Like, it's like so
So I sucked.
I'm better, but I you know what I mean? It's those kind of things, right? Like as an artist, like I've had to take criticism my entire life, and then when you get to a point of whatever notoriety or whatever, and you try to help people by being a little bit critical on some of the things they're doing, they don't know how to take criticism. They take it as a jab, as a fucking like insult. You know what I mean? And then people get all butthurt online, and they don't want to like talk to you in person. They just want to like, I guess I'm not this, and I guess I'll fucking go fuck myself. And
They want to spam a bunch of memes.
yeah,
A lot of the good ones, you know.
I love memes. I love them, dude.
I do too. I do
It's
too.
just
Yeah.
like going out of style too, and that's bumming me out. Now I'm just inspirational quotes. You know, that's
You're pretty good at the inspirational quotes. I
Man,
do
that's
have
the
to
stuff that
admit.
strikes me. You never know who's having a day, and that stuff strikes me, man. It's like it makes sense, and I try not to like poke fun or talk shit about anybody. I'm all about talking shit in person.
Yeah.
Like
the
I
best.
get way more enjoyment by fucking.
I agree.
I will say, like, Mike is the wise one. Like, out of our little friend circle we have, like, Mike is the one that busts out wisdom when you need wisdom. Like, it is very,
Old
I don't got time for that. I'm trying to post a picture of Peaky Blinders, like, you know, that I'm a
Yeah, the
fucking
Joker.
wolf.
Yeah.
And if you
Joker
talk
quotes
about
that
me,
you
you don't
never
deserve
said.
me.
That's like the
That's the
fucking
best one, man. The Joker quotes you
I'm
never said.
doubling down the boomer memes.
Yeah.
What's the ones? It was like a total misquote. It was off another movie, but they put it to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and I was sitting there thinking about it. It really bothered me. I was like, I don't think he ever said that. When I watched the movie again, I was like, he didn't say that, and I was like, I wasted too much fucking time on this
Yeah.
meme.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's one of those things where like I think that we've all kind of started wrapping up so much of our identity on social media that, and don't get me wrong, like I'm guilty of it. It's a hard one. It's like I said, every 10 years, our whole world is like turned upside down
Big time.
to where we have to refigure it out. So it's like, I feel like it's harder. It's been harder, or I don't know. That's a big generalization, but I feel like it's been a little bit difficult for maybe people in the world of creativity, whether it's tattooing, motorcycling, painting, whatever, to kind of find a path to like normalcy, because every 10 years is like the whole world changes, and what you prepped yourself for the last 9 years for is now doesn't work.
Yeah, you're like obsolete.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I see that all the time with like skateboarding. I mean, have you watched any skateboarding videos lately?
I get wrapped up in the videos all the time.
Man, I watch that, like especially like Thrasher and stuff, and I watch what these kids are doing now, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I would fucking die. Like just totally insane shit. And I'm like, other kids, like little 10-year-old kids, like when I was a kid, it was like you had to wait for a new video to come out on VHS, and you'd watch it, and you'd be like, oh my god. But now it's like updated every day. So now these kids have got so much pressure to do such big stuff. And it's just like, I couldn't imagine that's the same thing. Like, especially with art, like tattoo artists. I mean, they're posting all this stuff. I couldn't imagine the pressure.
I remember specifically when the transition was changing with tattoo culture.
Yeah.
And maybe mine's not an accurate as like someone like Oliver Peck that was actually in it, right? But as an artist in the 2000s, I remember as the TV shows came out and more artists got into tattooing, how it quickly changed from kind of your scratch Spalding catalog kind of, you know, bangers that you'd see at the tattoo shop, to like artists coming in and painting by numbers but with tattoo equipment and turning into realism and this and that, and Nico Hurtado and fucking, there was already a bunch of fucking really badass black and gray artists that had been around for a while, but that was really it. And you know, then the Day of the Dead thing just sweep the world, and pin up girls and pin up art.
Total fashion, like whatever.
Yeah.
But
that was probably like the late 2000s to 2010s, early 2010s. is probably like when the rockabilly, skateboard, chopper culture was totally accepted in mainstream. You had Von Dutch as like a big fucking, all of a sudden now it's a big trendy clothing brand, and Ed Hardy and all this other shit.
The culture vultures.
And it kind of came after the Affliction heavy
it's
like
still going on somewhere. Like I remember the first time I went to Long Beach and all those when West Coast Chopper thing fired off, I was just like nothing but bros everywhere. They all had like the West Coast Chopper crew, and I was like, it was like some kind of weird white boy lowrider thing. I was like, well, I don't know what the fuck's going on, man.
Hell
like,
yeah.
Yeah, they all had jacked up trucks or lowriders.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck's going on here, man?
I think Donnie sent me some video that introduced me to the word brotherfucker. And like, I was just like, I'm about to adapt that to my normal vocabulary because I
like that word.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Hell yeah, brotherfucker. Like it's. I gotta do it right. I'm working on it.
Everywhere.
Okay, I'm working on the. It's about the approach. So
well, to kind of wrap all that up, it's just. Even now, like social media has become such a big part of everybody's life. Even the people that aren't in social media are affected by what takes place in social media now. And social media is going through. I was, a lot of people have been talking about Instagram lately about how it's changed and they want you to do videos and this. Well, I've been, Instagram is where I get a lot of my business from and have for most of my successful part of my career. So I keep an eye on what's going on and how it works and what's happening. All the privacy stuff that was kind of put out the last couple of years that now iPhones don't allow, like these trap. Remember how we talk like, I said Toyota Tundra and now I get all these ads.
Yeah.
We don't really get that anymore, right? Because Apple kind of changed that.
Mine still does it. Google is listening.
Google does. But what that's turning into is now the apps need more attention now, so they have to lean into all this shit.
Yeah.
So it's like since their ad revenue's gone down because they can't track anymore, in some instances, now they have to make up for it by doing whatever is the most attention getting for you to be on the platform. So it's almost like we traded off like having them listen to everything we say to now we just have social media that literally makes us want to pull our hair out because it's not cool anymore. Like when they're saying like right now they're feeding you about 15% of people on your Instagram that you don't follow.
Yeah.
Right. So you see less people than of who you actually follow, who you want to know how they're doing, you see less of that. And by the end of the year, they're supposed to be at 30% of like suggesting to you, hey, follow this guy.
Yeah, they do
because
it all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's taking away the enjoyment of what it was to follow you and see you make a post about some dumbass plate of tacos you had that probably I would want. And, engage in some kind of conversation. It's not really social anymore. It's media.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's weird.
I don't know. Like, I get to those points where I'm confused about what social media is used for.
Yeah.
Like Facebook, it's like I got family members that live cross country, but like Instagram, I'm kind of lost. I'm like, I'm not really promoting anything. That's why whenever we do the Terlingua thing, I'm like, I just kind of repost what he posts. And I'm like, man, I'm not really like an engager. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just like, hey, my life's pretty fucking boring. I'm working on a dirty ass van. I got an old shovel head and I got a fucking FXR, and it's like you can only take so many pictures of those before people are like,
but if you took
bitch.
Pictures of those, you'd be chopular as fuck right now.
I do, but I'm like, I got a bust.
Bring that word back.
And it's
you got all the right things to be a trendy,
Yeah.
dude.
I'm trying.
You got eyebrow tats and
What?
sailor tats and shit.
Mike, you need a Pro Snap shirt. Flirt with a cowboy hat every now and then.
I have that. I just didn't want to bring it. I didn't want to out too out, I'm all about it, man. Hey, I'll make the ladies happy, whatever I got to do. Yeah. Like I'm very humble.
Yeah, and it kind of goes around like social media is obviously one of those things where we have to. That's where you kind of forced to market to. But when it comes to the Terlingua, we want it to be word of mouth. We want it to be people showed up. They had one of the best experiences that they've had, and then they tell their friends about it, and then their friends show up. Like we're not out there for numbers. We're not out there to try and have this big thing. We're out there for experiences.
Yeah.
And that's what every single year we want to make sure that everyone leaves there with a unique experience to where if it does, like we're not looking to make it big or anything like that. Like a very, very smart man told me that 20 nickels are better than 100 pennies. So that's what we're kind of getting with this event, to where like, yes, like the point is on the FXR page, to where like we'll put all the information out there and for what you need to know. We'll try and be as helpful as possible to make it out there, but we just asking you to make it out there and tell your friends about it.
Yeah.
Was it? I don't know. Maybe I'm naive and it's still just hopeless romantic, but I like to think that the catch point between just word of mouth and the benefit of social media is something kind of like what you guys have caught so far, almost like lightning in a bottle with a handful of people last time. And man, I hope it grows, kind of like our camp out, just almost exponentially. I hope it almost doubles, but in the right way. In the fact that it's people that are seeing it, that are going, you know what, this may be a little bit more of a trek than I want, but this shit sounds real. This sounds like the fucking good, and I want a piece of this. This isn't. You're gonna get a stronger connection than any sort of Daytona, than a Sturgis, than any sort of big event. This is grassroots. This is grassroots shit. I mean, the same stuff that started the camp out, and I'm happy for you guys, man. And I like I said, I plan on making it, barring something catastrophic like last year. I plan on being there, and I can't wait to see all the people that come out. Yeah. But I hope that would be my positive spin on it is fuck social media. But if some dude that's in Kansas, that this is his fucking Sturgis, this is his big trip, come on, brother.
Exactly.
Like, let's welcome you. If you're willing to put it down to get it here, come on. I'm willing to hang out with you.
Yeah, yeah. So there is this aspect of social media where it's like, that is the nowadays word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
It is that, because I mean, I don't feel like as many people are actually on bikes as they are on social media, if that makes sense. And I'm not trying to do a
it's really
slight.
accessible, like it's in every single person's
every
back
day.
pocket.
Like you don't. Every time there's a ride or a bike night in Dallas, I don't get to catch it. So whatever's going on and what's about to go on, I might miss that conversation at bike night, but. When you post it online and I see it, and, I'm fortunate because I'm connected to you. We've been friends forever and shit like that. But, social media is important. And that's social media has like made my life better by connecting with people, right? All my best friends are through a bike night, which we promoted through social media, which brought these people to the yard. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, without that, like my group of homies behind there, like that wouldn't exist without Instagram. My wife, I wouldn't know my wife without Instagram. So, there's so many things where social media is beneficial. You never want to be like a slave to it. You know what I mean? But I've gotten so much great shit out of my life has come to it.
Dude, I love Facebook Marketplace.
That's same thing.
Dude, I love it.
You can buy a fucking car off
I'm
that
on.
shit.
You can buy it. Man,
Dude, it's crazy. I stay on Facebook Marketplace. So my camera that I'm running right now is it's a pretty expensive camera, but I bought it used. And at a used price, the same person was selling this used camera, same model as mine, used camera, and a 2012 like Toyota like Camry or some shit like that. And the Camry was cheaper than the used camera.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
God damn.
It blows my mind sometimes, like how when you put those two things next to each other, like I don't value this camera more than that vehicle that could take me all over the world. But in this metaverse or whatever the fuck, that camera is worth more than that car will ever be at its age. It's a weird fucking thing, right?
Well, that's all relative.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just the whole thing. That's some kid that car's getting back and forth to college to further their life. Not that I'm signing up for college or anything, but it's all relative. Versus a camera that takes your business to the next level. Versus maybe somebody that they could take that cash and do a trip, and that trip may just It's all relative.
I don't know. It's
I'm
weird.
just a sucker for junk and a good deal. I am like, where I work at, man, we do like a lot of recycling, and there's like people that buy up beach houses and then they just gut them and they throw everything in there, and we just like literally take stuff out, and it's like brand new washer dryers, refrigerators, all that stuff. And my boss was like, you can have anything you want. Like we did a Fastenal store. I'm talking about all the badass little bins and all that stuff. And I mean, I got like thousands of dollars in drill bits. that like carbide tips, and like they took the whole display that has thousands of drill bits in there, all the sizes. They just threw that away. And what I'm saying is I'm a sucker for that shit, man. I was like, I pulled the motor out of the van and I put it on Craigslist, or not Craigslist, fucking Facebook Marketplace. And there's people trying to kick me down. I was like, $100. It's a running motor. Come get it. And they're like, what's the cheapest you'll go? And I'm like, fucking give me $5. You know, if you show it with $5, we're gonna have a conversation. You know?
Yeah, that shit drives me nuts. Like I don't mind someone like I got a couple things on Marketplace right now I'm trying to sell, and it's kind of a dying trend. So it's not really something that's popular anymore, but it's still popular to certain people. And if they want this, it's worth a lot of money and it's at a great price. And when people hit me up and like they hit you with I got it up there for $1,500, and they're like, so would you take $750? To me,
that's 50%.
I want to fight you.
Yes.
Like I want to dude. All right, put them up. Let's go. Like that's to me. It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here.
Well, I tell them like this. I shut it down. Like any cars or whatever I've sold on there, I say I won't take any offer without you coming and looking at it. And like that makes perfect sense. And it's like I'm not even going to entertain any offer unless you're going to mail me a friggin' check for actually what I'm asking for it, and that's still weird.
I think that there are people out there that get off on trying to make deals at a lower rate and just literally flake on the deal afterwards. Like they just want to get off on you want 15 for it?
They want the interaction.
How about 1,000?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I can't do 1,000. How about 1,250? 1,150, let's do it. I'm like, all right. And he's like, then ghost. He just wanted to win, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to get less, and he's like,
What's the fucking point?
Dude.
It's like a Tinder hookup. She's on her way, but you fucking come before she gets there, so you just delete the app. Ah, sorry.
Yeah, you're interested? Cool. Thanks for the clarification.
That's all I
Blue wire.
needed. That's all I needed. Oh,
Right when she's knocking on the door, you're like, oh, this is awkward.
sorry, yeah, I'm done. I'm spinning for the night.
I was waiting, but I couldn't wait any longer.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here. Somebody needs to clean this mess up.
You want to make a couple bucks real quick? You want to go get me a taco?
Ta-da!
Well,
And they say China's laughing at us becoming stupider. No way, dude. Not at all. Anyways, ride motorcycles till you can't, because we're not going to be
live
here
your
very
life
much
until you
longer.
can't. Like, god damn, because it gets harder and harder to live your life every day.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, man, is watching a lot of older guys that I know, man, hit that age where their body just won't let them ride anymore. And these are guys that have ridden their whole lives. And, like, just to see that look in their eye, that's, like, one of the hardest things. And they're literally, like, on oxygen. Hips are just gone. They're right. They're talking about a plush motorcycle, like a brand new Road Glide. They went out and just paid cash for a CVO, and they still can't ride because they're just body. And that is literally like the time I'm dreading, because if I make it that long, God forbid, it's like you're gonna have to come to that fact. We're right around 70, 75.
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking,
Shit.
and like you said, it's coming for all of us.
Exactly. It's
We've talked about it before. We stayed with a good buddy in Idaho, and the next morning we were getting ready to leave, and his buddy came down walking his dog, or a neighbor of his came down walking his dog. What was he, 75?
Yeah.
Around 75, and he said, my goal was to, I think he was 73. He said, my goal was to make it to 80, just riding and doing what I do. He's at the point now he can't ride more than 100 miles at a time before he's stove up for 4 days. He said it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
But to this guy's credit, is in his giant fucking dick and balls, he's got he likes to fish, and he's rigging up some sort of like enduro bike to where he can put his chick on the back, and it still holds his fishing poles and I guess a little bit of thing, like a little cooler on the back, and can ride it on some trails. And he's like, that doesn't fuck me up, so that's where we're going for the next few years. But he hates it. I mean, I don't know if he had a CVO, but he had a nice bike. I mean, Vic even said it. Yeah, great guy. But he's at the point where I've run out of fucking runway. I can't fucking do it anymore. So like you said, it's coming for all of us. So
That's the worst.
enjoy the days where you can do 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 miles over 3 days. Enjoy it, because cocksuckers, it's not going to last forever. It's like beauty on a female. It's fading. So seriously, you're not gonna have those 19-year-old looks forever, sweetheart. Same thing with you fucking
Speak for
dickheads.
yourself.
It's same thing with some of you motherfuckers that always want to save it for the next thing.
I'm dying.
You're not always
I've
going to get
decided.
there. You never know what's fucking coming.
Yeah,
up.
like
So
everyone makes amends for every decision they make. So
ride
it's-
while you can.
That's basically the thing I was talking with Adam about earlier is, you know, I used to have a high-paying job, gone all the time, and I never had time to do what I wanted. And I had that moment where you have that spark of terror where you're like, my life is slipping away. Like I'm ever is at work all the time. And I took a lesser job just so I can have more time to myself, to where I can make the rides, make all the runs. And it's a toss-up. You just get your bills down low where you only need to make, you know, a couple $1,000 a month, just keep your head above water, but you can still do what you want.
I think,
and it's a hard choice, but once you get used to it, man, it's like living low on the hog, you know. And it's like I really enjoy it. Like I have money to do stuff I want, go places. I don't have to. I'm not a slave.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to wait till I was 65 years old. I was like, man, when I'm 65, I don't know if I'm going to do any of this shit. I'll probably just sit in a recliner and have a dachshund, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think what you just said, I think of our buddy Donnie in Oklahoma. He's older, but he's got a sick FXR, a sick bagger.
Donnie's
got a
good
dachshund.
people. Yeah, like,
He's just got the whole.
Dog.
And he's a rad dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Donnie's he's good
and
people.
like, you know, like to me, it's like he gives me hope that, you know, if my no matter how I say it, I feel like I'm going to talk shit about him. I'm not trying to, you know, like he looks content in his life, at his age and what he has, but he's involved in things. So I feel like he has experiences, and that gives him like all the joy he needs in life to be fulfilled.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a bunch of older guys around me that had cool shit. But I also watched them pass away one by one because they've lived those hard lives. And they spent their whole life collecting the bikes that, you know, like old panheads, old knuckleheads, stuff that they inspired them. And as soon as they got them, it was like they got to the point where their knees were giving out. They couldn't kick them anymore. And I was like, what a jip. You know, like you get the fucking dream bike you always wanted. Now you can't even ride it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you got to do it while you're
that's
young,
life's
man.
cruel fucking situation.
And I saw like some kind of quote a while, like not too recently, like it said like there's always more time. No, you can never make more time, but you can always get more money. So something like that. It's like do it now while you can, you know, instead of waiting until later.
My brand is always the fast life has always been with that mentality.
Yeah.
That's what it's always meant.
Exactly.
I know the word fast life, when it's used in pop culture, has always kind of been more of a someone living fast, you know, partying that.
Yeah.
But we're kind of doing that. We're doing the things we want to do that are fun, and that's always been the draw to that.
Exactly.
You know, to like, fuck, wait until next year. Let's go now.
Yeah.
Let's do it today.
Yeah.
Let's do it this year. Let's figure it out now, because I might be dead next year.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The world might be over. We might be fucking China next year. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I love
you know. That's probably
set it
racist.
up, man.
What's the camera on me? Okay, cool.
I'm a representative
That
of
was
Chinese
Japanese.
people.
Jesus.
But no, that's the concept. And, you know, I think that between your run, our camp out down south, all these events, you know, the up north, the camp out at the quarry, there's so many events where they're smaller, they're more intimate. You can go make friends and make these relationships. And everybody that's gone to these things have made those. And they are a part of that cult now, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you get these, like when people hear us on these podcasts, like waxing poetically about these situations that haven't done it yet, they don't understand. Like, yo, man, like these things are life changing.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
And fill in the blank. We're talking about the Terlingua run, but if you're from Traverse City, Michigan, maybe the up north camp out is your fucking cup of tea, or maybe whatever. But the ultimate, you know, the genesis of what you guys are saying is take the fucking chance, come out, ride out. This isn't new. We're not breaking new grounds. We've talked about this before 1,000 times. But what you guys have going on, man, it seems like you
were trying
do
like
that, and you put some fucking sauce on top of
Yeah.
it.
We were trying like a sign in. That way, everybody was kind of forced to come to us to get their patch, sign
like
in,
that.
meet them, whatever, you know.
Yeah, so that's the Terlingua registry.
Yeah, and
So-
we wanted like to meet everybody that came. That way, we had like a sign in, but it was kind of like hidden. They kept moving us around at the High Sierra because they didn't really we didn't really plan it right.
Yeah, well,
Now we're
no,
gonna be-
it was we were adapting to an environment.
Yeah.
Like it was our first run.
Yeah.
So the idea was behind it. We want to start a Terlingua registry, to where like when you show up to Terlingua, you sign your goddamn signature, and then
On the
you're
ledger.
set in. Like you're that motherfucker. So that's where we want to have like a book, to where like you want to pull 600 plus miles, like you fucking sign this book and you earn it.
Well, it's kind of like it's just like a rite of passage kind of deal. you know?
That's
Yeah.
kind of dope. I
So
kinda
yeah,
dig that.
so it's gonna be the Terlingua registry. We started it last year. Like we tried to get it going. Like there was some things.
Are we
that
starting a
made
registry?
it- Yeah, there
And,
was some stuff that.
it's a marketing thing too, because you can get them to put their phone number, the email address, that way you can put them on a mailer or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like just it's kind of like a sign-in thing. Come talk to us, maybe buy a shirt, and here's $5 for a patch or whatever. And it's like you bring them to you. you know?
Yeah. So
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's also like, hey, you're here.
What's cool thing is there was a bunch of weird dudes that I liked that showed up with FXRs that had weird like bike configurations, and they just showed up to get their patch and they left that night. Like they rode out. One guy rode in all the way from San Antonio, and he just gave us $5 for a patch, and then he jumped on his bike and hauled us back home.
He had a dual stack on.
Yeah,
it.
he had a Delorto. He had a dual throttle Delorto on his bone stock FXR, and he said it runs fucking great. And I was looking at this huge carb setup because that they go forward. But he was like, "Yeah, I just came to get the patch, man. I'm a haul ass. I can't stay."
Yeah, we rode back with him
Sweet.
through Big Bend. Like that was a cool dude. So like that first year, like we had everyone sign the fucking Terlingua, like it basically their signature, where they came from. So like this upcoming year, like when you show up, we'll have a booklet set up to where when you roll in, you're signing your name and you're signing where you come from. Like, and then that will always be every single year. We use the same book, and there'll be the same Terlingua registry to where.
That's the epitome of it. That's sick. And for
Something different,
Again, as we're probably wrapping this up sooner or later, hats off to you guys again for a state that kind of takes in the short sometimes, is not having anywhere to ride, and yet we have this fucking just oasis that we can all kind of sleep on. Big hats off to you guys for highlighting it,
Exploiting it, yeah.
for doing the fucking work. No, I wouldn't even say exploiting it, just in the
doing
fact that
something
may come off negatively, but for highlighting it, for doing the fucking work, getting the going down there on the pre-runs, figuring something out, and now tried and true, having something that other people can come to, because it's gonna grow. It's gonna, like I said.
Well, I just noted a lot of bike stuff was becoming very like it's different, same stuff, different location.
Yeah.
And I want to do something different, more like where, like I'm not gonna mention any bike things, but I went to one in California, and there was a lot of VIP sections, and they didn't want to speak with their public, and I was like, this is weird. Like, you're not a celebrity, man. Just go say what's up, give a high five, and I was like.
So there's no meet and greets at y'all's thing for
No,
influencers
it's
like me?
one big meet and greet. Like, come hang, dude. Like,
I
fucking
was
say what's up.
just, I kind of need a space so I can sign
You
autographs.
can hide
Yeah,
behind
no,
me.
that
You
ain't
can hide
nobody
behind me.
special, ain't nobody jack shit. Like the
You get
only
two breakfast
fucking thing you
tacos.
gotta do is show
Nobody's
up.
big enough in the motorcycle
Yeah.
world to do a meet and
Nah,
greet.
man.
The fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Man,
no.
It's what's up, man. We're all
Like the
people.
only thing you gotta do is just fucking.
If you
show
introduce
up.
yourself at the Terlingua run as an influencer, we're throwing scorpions in your sleeping bag.
I'm telling you, like I fucking
Good luck.
Fuck.
Like
When I get drunk, man,
You're just a
my
you're
alter
a
ego
regular
comes
fucking
out.
Joe.
yeah, like
You know
I'm
the fuck I
saying-
am? I'm famous.
Hold
Like,
on,
I
let me
shook-
open my sleeping bag. Get
Yeah.
around my balls.
Like just that's it, man. Like I shook the hand of every single person that show up there,
Yeah.
like because that's all
Definitely.
that matters.
Definitely try
And
to talk
then,
to everybody.
like,
Yeah.
and then have your own organic experience. Like we're gonna do our best and make sure you have a good time, and that's our main goal. But we just want you out there.
So
It's sick, dude. You're getting what is this? The second real year of it.
Yeah.
So you're still at that level. If you're just blue balls, you want to ride, you haven't done anything, get out there and ride with these motherfuckers every day. If you want to ride out there the first day, and then maybe do something in the morning, and all of a sudden you decide you want to take some mushrooms and disappear into the hills.
Sounds
Am
like
I
a
wrong?
plan.
Do that too, right? Like
Yeah.
it sounds like it's freedom kind of.
It very much is. Just be safe. Like the biggest
Obviously.
thing on the run to Terlingua is we want safety. We want everyone's bike to show up, and we want them to go home. in the
Tragedy brings
exact
people
same
back the next year, though.
condition.
Yes.
Like just know that these are roads that are advanced.
if you do die, there will be a T-shirt There will
you
be a
can-
run,
yeah.
a memorial run. So, you'll get immortalized. So
Yeah.
So just be safe,
we'll spread the ashes.
we want the best experience for every single participant. So just keep that in mind.
well, cool. Well, dates again, and hit them with the Instagram, and then let's wrap it up.
Yeah, so you can follow at FXRs of HTX. September will be the major month where we will be pushing all the information out there. When it comes to the camping is $5 a night. We'll have it set up at the Passing Wind. If you're looking into like Airbnbs and stuff like that, you have the Retro Rentals,
You
High
can go
Sierra.
online. You can go online and see.
Yeah.
There's a
and-
bunch, it seems like.
We'll also be posting up like different avenues if you want to get some different Airbnbs. So it's at FXRs of HTX with underscores in between, all the
And
words.
it's October 14th and 15th.
Yeah.
And we're going to be there a little early, just trying to round everything out, but we'll be there.
Yeah. So October 14th through the 16th, and then we'll be there the day before. And any questions at all, please feel free to hit us up. Like we're more than willing to answer anything you guys got.
For sure.
So
Hell
definitely.
I didn't think we were gonna do 3 hours. I think I have COVID right now. I really think I have COVID.
Really?
I feel like shit. Yeah, but the beers has helped me not care anymore. But I've been laying on the couch all fucking day today. Man.
Yeah. Can I put a little extra plug?
Yeah.
All right, my good home dude Rowdy just had a kid, so congratulations. And he's also he's Rowdy House in Corpus Christi. They're having a bike night in November, and like those guys are some
They've
dope.
been throwing bike nights, right?
Dude, have you ever
Well,
been to
the
one of
bike
those?
nights are back. The bike nights are back, and they're dope motherfuckers. Rowdy and
right?
Rowdy friends. Like Corpus Christi, check them out. Like it's a good fucking bike.
So
night.
much fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
Those are you mentioned that those are some of the ones I've been meaning to make it for a while. I've been to a bunch of the Houston stuff, but the Corpus Christi ones are always, I'm like,
Yeah.
and it never quite works out, but every time I see it, I'm like, God, I fucking messed up, dude. I should have been down there.
That shit's
Yeah.
far.
Great town.
It's very far, but it also looks very fucking fun.
I think El Paso is closer than Corpus Christi is to us.
And at least with El Paso, we're halfway to
That's
LA,
that flat
right?
earth theory. Flat earth theory coming in again.
Yeah.
El Paso, you can
thank
take an
you,
Adderall and just fucking be in California by the time it wears off.
Right.
All right, guys.
All right.
Adios,
Appreciate you for having
fuckos.
us.